Chapter 1, Prologue. In a normal bedroom, a 17-year-old male with black hair slept on his bed with a blissful expression on his face. Knock knock. Knocks started to echo throughout the room without notice, but the young man wore big noise-cancelling headphones. With such big headphones, it would make sense that he wouldn't be able to hear it, or so it may seem. Nush. Strangely, the male could hear the knock clearly, waking up because of it. He rubbed his sleepy eyes before getting up from the bed and replying, "Yes, I'm all." Before he could finish his words, the door was opened. He saw the familiar figure that had always been waking him up every morning. She had long black hair that reached her waist, big black eyes, a small nose, as well as a pair of tantalizing lips. She wore a white shirt under a white suit, as well as a blue tie and a white miniskirt. Those clothes made her charm more enchanting, accentuating her beautiful proportion even further. She could cook and even do house chores. That's right. She would be a perfect girl, if only she wasn't such a Kai. She threw herself towards him. He had gotten used to this, so he avoided her and let her crash into his bed. He avoided her, but it didn't make her feel disappointed. Instead, she grabbed his pillow as she smiled. "Fufu," Kai sent. "Today, Kai will go to school with me. Ah, this is the best day ever." Kai glanced at her before increasing his distance from her. That's right, she was indeed happy. But then she realized another matter, making her mood turn for the worse. She said with a dark tone, "That's right. What if Kai gets a girlfriend in school? Damn you, government. I should change this policy when I become one of the high-ranking people. Or should I? No killing, please," Kai replied with an uninterested tone. He had gotten used to this side of her. Her name was Tasha Carter. She was his incurable bro-con sister. Well, adopted sister. He and his parents were on vacation before they met her. She was abandoned after her parents died in an accident. They decided to adopt her so that their son could have an older sister that could protect him. But because of a certain accident, she became like this. Kai Carter shook his head helplessly at the thought. He glanced at the mark on her right hand. Everyone had a mark like this on their body. For him, he had an eighth note symbol under his right ear. He looked at the lightning mark on her right hand. At the end of the 21st century, a strange accident occurred on Earth. The people on Earth suddenly felt their bodies becoming more energetic with every passing day. The government started researching the cause, and at that moment, they found a strange phenomenon. A dog suddenly expanded in size, as if it was undergoing an evolution. It killed all the members of the research team, as well as the people around them. Unfortunately, it didn't stop there. Other animals also underwent their respective evolutions. The situation became chaotic because animals throughout the globe started turning into beasts. In the present years, they were called magical beasts. People who owned pets died on the first wave after their pets killed them. The government tried to fight them, but it was obvious that killing those beasts would not be that easy. Numerous nations were ruined by these magical beasts. These beasts terrorized the entire Earth. Without any other choice left, the people around the world joined hands to fight them. It was not so effective at first, so they could only retreat and create a superbase with allied countries. 3 bases managed to survive this ordeal, with those bases being located in Japan, the US, and Europe. With Japan's strategic location, which was surrounded by water, the terrestrial magical beasts from afar couldn't harm them. They managed to kill the magical beast through their territories. The people around them were also migrating to the country. Japan finally became a country that hosted various nationalities. China, Russia, and even those from Indonesia lived in this country. And so, Japan changed its name to United Asia. Such was also the case for the US and European bases. Each of them also took in various nationalities into them. People who managed to survive this ordeal used these 3 bases as places for recuperation and started to slowly turn the tides against those magical beasts. Until all of a sudden, they found that their children had something that they called a birthmark. It appeared on every child around the world. Strangely enough, they found out that their birthmarks could glow and that the children could use strange powers. Children with a fire mark on them could control or summon fire. It was the same for children with a water or wave-like mark on them. They could control or summon water. The people called these children magicians. His sister had a lightning mark, which made her a lightning magician. She also had another power that made her famous. With that, the people were finally able to fight back those magical beasts. The world continuously produced such children every time they birthed. It seemed that it was the same as the magical beast evolution. But in this case, it was their children. After retaliating for more than 2 centuries, the situation had eventually stabilized. Unfortunately, because of this catastrophic event or accident, the population on Earth was reduced to a meager 5 of its initial number. Even more so, after these conflicts or fights, the number of males who participated on the front lines had been decreasing until women started participating as well. Even so, the damage was irreplaceable. The current population of males was only a third of the entire population. Yeah, the policy in her mouth was that a man could have multiple wives, aka their own harem. Some chose to have one, and some decided not to. For this hardcore brocon, it was a significant matter. Kai Carter didn't really care about it that much though. For him, he wanted to build his own relationship first before confirming their relationship. He didn't believe in such a thing as falling in love at first sight. He grasped his sister and threw her outside his room. He then closed the door so he could change his clothes. He soon grabbed his white uniform. It was the same white uniform as the one his sister wore, except that he had long white pants. He looked at the ID and grabbed it as well. ID Serdio 004884395, United Asia. Name, Kai Carter. Age, 17. Gender, male. Education, Genesis Magic Academy. First year. Rank, D. That's right. He was living in the United Asia base. Jobs related to magic were high-paying jobs in this world. Those who became a student at a magical academy would receive an honor unique to them. As for the ranks, in this world, there were 7 ranks, from F to S. They were classified based on ability and magical energy. Kai Carter was only your average guy. His ability and magical energy level weren't high, but they weren't low either. From other people's point of view, he was just an average guy with an average aptitude. B-rank magicians were considered as special people, while A-rank magicians were considered as aces. As for people with S ranks, there were only a handful of people in the world who had that rank. It was a special rank only for those who fit the requirements for that, which included his sister. After he changed his clothes, he opened the door and saw that his sister was still standing in front of his room this entire time. Kai, let's eat breakfast. Kai nodded his head. Both of them went downstairs and saw their parents. Their father was sitting while reading news on his gadget. The gadget was a kind of smartphone, but it was a bit more technologically advanced. They lived in the 24th century, but due to the onslaught of the magical beasts, technology didn't progress that much. His father was a middle-aged man with very short black hair. His personality was not strict. In fact, he was a fun father to have. Kai looked at their mother, who was preparing their breakfast. Even though she was considered a middle-aged woman, her beauty was still preserved. Maybe because of their magical energy, their aging process had slowed down. He recalled that most women in this world were the same, but it was different for males. It seemed they didn't care that much about their appearance, especially for those who were married. That's why their father had the appearance of a man in their mid-30s, while their mother looked like she was in her prime, which was her early 20s. Oh, Kai. That's right. It's your first day attending high school. Well, have fun. I'm sure your sister will protect you. Yes, I will protect him, especially from Fixtens, Tasha said with a guts pose. Yeah, I'll leave him to you. Just watch your words. Their father, James Carter, didn't really care since he had gotten used to this. In fact, the whole family had gotten used to her personality, fufufu. Well, I don't really mind having a few more daughters-in-law, though, their mother, Ayaka Carter, said while giggling as she put the dishes on the table. Their mother was a local Japanese. Their great-grandfather was a tourist in Indonesia. He was an Englishman, but, because of that accident, he fled to United Asia and settled down. Mom. How can you say that? They just want to take advantage of Kai, Tasha protested. Kai only kept his silence, not bothering to correct them. He just let it be and watched them to see what would happen. Uh-huh. Whatever you say, I will be the one to judge them, not you. Their mother stated it like it was her authority, not Tasha's. But then again, she was using her joking tone, itadakimasu. After living together for 2 centuries, their cultures had mixed. They ate their breakfast while joking with one another. After finishing their breakfast, It was time for Tasha and Kai to go to school. They were reaching for their shoes when Tasha suddenly realized that something was off. Kai's tie was a bit crooked. Her eyes immediately flashed with a glint. Kai, your tie is crooked. Let me fix it for you. She moved closer towards Kai. Seeing her come towards him, he immediately fixed his tie casually. Yeah, you're right. Thanks, sis. She froze after seeing him fix his tie. Kai, it's the time where I should be fixing your tie. You know, you should let me fix it for you. Are you even a man? Yes. Kai simply nodded, ignoring all her words. She pouted in response. After that, they put on their shoes. Tasha shouted soon after, Mom, Dad, we're heading out. Yeah, have fun, Kai. Don't forget to bring a daughter-in-law. No, you won't. And with that, the two of them finally left the house. Chapter 2, Opening Ceremony. Kai and Tasha went to school together. They were in Tokyo. Even though Japan changed its name to United Asia, the names of the cities didn't change. They rode a bus that had been modified with magical energy. The bus didn't have wheels and was floating a few centimeters off the road. Surprisingly, their home was not that far from the school. After a 10-minute ride, they finally arrived at the school gate, walking together. Of course, there were a lot of students around them. Most of them knew about Tasha. Whoa, that's Tasha Carter. Indeed, the only S rank in the academy. Now that I think about it, only a few people in the world have that rank. I came to this school because I admire her. Look, she's with someone. Who is he? I don't know. Ah, if I'm not mistaken, he must be her younger brother, Kai Carter. What, her younger brother? Do you know him? Not really, but I'm super envious. I want to be her younger brother as well. Look, they look so intimate. Even with his big noise-canceling headphones, he could hear the conversations from his surroundings. His symbol was sound. From childhood, he had an extensive hearing. In other words, even if it was far away, he could hear it. After multiple tests, he found out that his hearing range was about a few kilometers. He wore those headphones to suppress it. It was very taxing for him, especially when he was about to sleep. He used the headphones to limit his hearing. To be honest, it was pretty stressful for him to hear everything. Who would want to hear a fight between a couple from a kilometer away or something like that? Walking together like this is considered intimate, Kai questioned in his heart. He remembered that his sister always wanted to jump on him at home or on the bus. She even tried to hold his hand. Of course, he managed to dodge all of them. Fortunately, she seemed to be able to maintain her image at school. She was waving her hands, greeting the other students. When they arrived, Tasha needed to do her job. Ah, right. I'm the student council secretary, as well as the second-year representative. Although it saddens me, I'll see you later, Kai. By the way, the ceremony will be held in the gym. It's that building. Kai nodded his head in response. Tasha walked away while waving her hand until she disappeared from his sight. Kai then walked toward the gym. Hey, you stop right where you are. Why are you wearing headphones? That's quite rude, don't you think? You need to pay attention to others. Kai heard a woman's voice behind him. He turned around to see a lady around the same age as him, sporting long brown hair. She had black eyes, a small nose, and cherry red lips. Her figure might be comparable to Tasha's, though he didn't care much to think about it. What he cared about was the star on her uniform. He had seen that star on her sister's uniform. Her sister said it was a star for representatives. Judging from her age, she must be the first-year representative. These are noise-canceling headphones. But don't worry, I can hear you just fine, Kai said in a casual tone. He had gotten used to this situation, but then again, it would be quite rare to see someone wearing noise-canceling headphones. Other people would think that he was blasting music through it. Even so, it's still rude, she said while crossing her arms. Kai wasn't offended by this. He took out a health certificate and showed it to her. Consider me a special case, if you will. It's for health reasons. This certificate always saved him in these kinds of situations. When he presented it to other people, they would back down and shut their mouths. After looking at the certificate, she was shocked. Unfortunately, she wasn't shocked by the certificate itself. Instead, she was shocked by his name, Kai Carter. He was someone who had the same family name as Tasha Carter. You're Kai Carter, the younger brother of Tasha Carter. Yes, her eyes widened. Then she started scanning him from head to toe. She couldn't see anything special from him, prompting her to ask, Are you really her younger brother? She was perplexed because she also came to this school because of her sister. His sister was that famous. But the most shocking thing was that when Tasha was asked by others, she always said that it was thanks to her brother that she could become who she was. Now, the people didn't believe it, though she tried to find anything special from him. Sadly, she didn't find anything. Even so, since he was her idol's younger brother, she still decided to be polite to him. She then introduced herself, saying, "My name is Kudo Ayaka. Nice to meet you, Kai Carter. The pleasure is mine." Kai didn't immediately answer her since he felt that this name was a bit familiar. It was as if he had heard it from somewhere. He couldn't remember it, so he answered with a bit of delay, "I will guide you to the gym." "No need, the gym is there." Kudo Ayaka was surprised to see that this guy was indifferent in front of her. He might not know her full identity, but she thought that as a beautiful girl whose appearance did not lose out to his sister, he should at least get excited. Unfortunately, he didn't have any of those thoughts. He only considered her as another acquaintance whom he had only just met. Whether they will become friends or not, he left it to the future. She let out a wry smile while saying, "Well, the gym is over there. See you later." Kai only nodded and walked away. The gym was brimming with people. They had around 2,000 students in here. It seemed that the third-year students occupied the spot in the center. The second-year students occupied its surroundings, and the first-year students' place was on the second floor. Kai searched for an empty seat. It took him a while to find one, as the gym was filled with people. Finally, he found an empty seat in the corner. Beside that seat was a blond young man. Kai didn't know why, but he noticed that this guy seemed to radiate the vibe of an elegant prince. He shrugged the feeling off and approached the seat. "Is that seat next to you taken?" The blond guy noticed him and turned his head. After he saw Kai's face, he just smiled. "Not at all. Feel free to sit here, thank you." Kai nodded and sat. "What is your name? Which class? What is your rank?" the blond guy asked him hurriedly. He then realized something. "Oh, that's right. How rude of me. My name is Inshof Tanas Georgi. If you feel it to be too long, you can just call me George. I am a student of class 1A, and my rank is B." Kai was surprised. He thought that this guy had an elegant prince's vibe, but as soon as he heard his voice, the feeling wore off. Instead, his opinion of him was now that of a cheerful and easygoing guy. 1A, Kai. "So, we are classmates, by the way. Why do you wear headphones?" He noticed something off from the headphones. Although he was cheerful and seemed to be careless, he was, in fact, a sharp person. He noticed this little detail. Those aren't headphones for music. Noise-canceling headphones. Medical reason. He looked at Kai mysteriously and eventually said, "You're an interesting guy. Let's be friends, Kai. You're my classmate, so we're gonna be together for the entire year." Kai was surprised to see that this guy found out that his headphones were different. Not many people could spot this at their first meeting. "Well, nice to meet you then, but please refrain from saying something that can invite misunderstandings. People will mistake you as a homosexual with your last sentence." He was clueless. He often spoke like this, but no one complained to him. Or maybe they were just scared of his status. But this Kai's guy seemed not to know his real status. He thought that this Kai's was fascinating. "Haha, I'll make sure to be careful. But you can truly hear beyond those noise-canceling headphones, huh?" Kai nodded. Before George said another word, the principal finally came up to the podium. The opening ceremony was about to start. The principal was a muscular, middle-aged man. He had spiky brown hair and seemed to be your typical muscle-brained guy. "Hello everyone, I am your principal. My name is Kazato Kenzo. I welcome you to Genesis Magical Academy. First of all, I would like to thank you for..." The principal began his speech. The speech was a bit boring since it was just the usual speech. After a few minutes, the speech was finally over. With that out of the way, I would like to invite Yajima Haruko, Tasha Carter, and Kudo Ayaka as the representatives of their grades. First off, Yajima Haruko is our student council president, as well as the representative of the third-year students. She is also a rank. A magician like me. Tasha Carter is the secretary of the student council. You might already know this. She is the only S rank in our academy, and the first S rank to appear in this academy. She is the representative for the second-year students. The last one is Kudo Ayaka, the heiress of the Kudo Group, the #1 weapon provider company. We are honored to have her as our student. She is also a rank, a magician. Let's give them a warm round of applause. A roaring round of applause soon echoed inside the gym. As expected, the claps were far louder than the principal. 3 beauties were walking toward the stage. Kai had seen 2 of them. He looked at the third person, the third-year representative, who was also the student council's president. She had long red hair with a beautiful hairpin on her hair. Every step she took was elegant. It seemed that she was also a young miss from a prominent family. In fact, Kai was surprised to hear that Kudo Ayaka was the heiress of the Kudo Group. He finally understood why he felt that her name was familiar. They started giving their speech, starting from Yajima Haruko to Tasha Carter, then Kudo Ayaka. Their speeches were similar, but the applause from the students was loud. As expected from them, it seemed that they had their own fan base. Unfortunately, the number of men in this world had been reduced to a pitiful amount. If there had been more of them, the applause would most likely have become even louder. Hey, men. Chapter 3. A fight after the opening ceremony ended, Kai stood up, ready to leave. Suddenly, a pair of hands suddenly came from behind and grabbed his shoulder. Kai turned around and saw that it was George's hands. George said while smiling, "Kai, let's go to class together. You're my new friend anyway." Kai tilted his head as he was confused by his action. Well, he didn't have any reason to reject him, so Kai accepted his proposal. They left the gym together and went toward their classroom. They walked normally before. Suddenly, danger approached them at a fast speed. Kai dodged to the side out of reflex. The danger he felt was a black-haired busty lady. In other words, his sister. "Why, you are?" George was dumbfounded when he saw who it was. It was the famous Tasha Carter. When she realized that there was someone beside him, she immediately raised her guard. She tried to see who had the guts to stand beside him. After she found out that it was a man, she felt relieved. I am glad that Kai has a friend now." Tasha nodded repeatedly. "Ah, you might have seen me previously, but I will introduce myself once more. I am Tasha Carter, elder sister of Kai Carter. Please take care of Kai for me." George turned to Kai in shock. He never expected that the average-looking guy was the brother of the famous Tasha Carter. He thought, is he acting like this because of his sister? Or is it just him being special? "Yes, the pleasure is mine. Are you two going to class?" "Yes," George nodded. "Fufu, you will then choose a class representative for your first day and some boring introduction from the teacher. Well, Kai might become the class rep. Fufu, I will look forward to it." "Oh, that's right. This is your weapon." Tasha handed a black block. Its size was pretty small, 10 centimeters long and 3 centimeters wide. You can say, "Release," to use it. "How about trying it out?" "I can change it if it's not to your satisfaction," Tasha said. Kai nodded and said in a low voice, "Release." The little block started glowing before it formed the shape of a sword. The little block expanded a little and became the sword handle. The small block took a small amount of magic power from Kai to form its blade. It formed a 1-meter-long single-edged green-colored blade. The blade was like a katana without a curve. Kai felt something wrong with the sword. Not the blade, but the handle. It was too long. The handle was more than enough for 2 hands to hold it, but it wasn't his way of handling it. "Fufu, you can split the handle, and it will become your second sword." Noticing Kai's confusion, she immediately explained. Kai tried it again and released the blade. It formed a blade identical to the first one. He checked his sword to see if there's something wrong. "You 3, it is against school rules to use yo." They heard a familiar voice from the side. It was Kudo Ayaka's voice. When she wanted to reprimand the trio about the rule, she was shocked to see that her idol, Tasha Carter, was also there. You're the first-year representative." Tasha looked at her with her eyes narrowed. Yes, I am Kudo Ayaka. Nice to meet you." She tried her best not to stutter. "We didn't break any rule. He only used it to check whether it's good or not. Ara, I heard something interesting. In a case like that, you need a member of the student council to observe it, and the approval of the student council president, which is me." A soft voice was heard from another direction. It was the student council president. After looking at her, George knew that this would take a long time. He immediately patted Kai's shoulder. "I'll see you in the classroom." He escaped as soon as he said that Kai wanted to escape too, but Tasha grabbed him. "You've said yes, Prez." "I'm following the school rules," Tasha said cheekily. Yajima Haruko realized something. Around an hour ago, before the opening ceremony started, Tasha came to the student council office. She was humming happily. Yajima Haruko asked her, "You seem pretty happy. Did something happen?" "Of course, my younger brother is enrolling here. I'm gonna give him that." "Oh, you mean the one that you asked for back then?" "Yeah, I want him to try it. Isn't that fine?" "Haha, sure, just follow the school rules." Yajima Haruko realized what she did. She did all of that to lower her guard, Tasha Carter. What a sly one. She had been watching from afar. Of course, she knew that Kai was Tasha's younger brother. She was thinking of inviting him to the student council. She had investigated Tasha and her younger brother. This Kai seemed to have an interesting ability, despite him being a rank D magician. They were staring at each other with smiles. Of course, their expressions were dark. "Fufu, as long as you obey the rules," Yajima Haruko said while smiling. Inside, she was cursing, "Damn you, sly brocon Bichichi. Of course, I am also one of the student council members. I should follow the rules." Tasha was the same. She was cursing in her heart. "You think I don't know that you're investigating my brother and me? Damn you, Fixten." Kudo Ayaka didn't know why, but she was scared after watching these two. Unconsciously, she was moving toward Kai and was trying to hide behind him. Yajima Haruko turned her head to Kai. "Hi, I'm Yajima Haruko. I've heard so much about you from Tasha." "Yes, nice to meet you." Kai nodded. "Would you like to join the student council?" Kai was confused. It wasn't only him. Even Kudo Ayaka, who was behind him, was also confused. She had been invited to join the student council too, but she remembered that the minimum requirement to join the student council was to be a rank C magician. She had seen his rank in his medical certificate. "It was D," Kudo Ayaka asked innocently. "But, Prez, isn't the minimum requirement to join the student council is to be a rank C magician?" "Ara, we meet again, Miss Ayaka." Haruko greeted her. The culture where people called each other with honorifics like San, Kun, and the others seemed to have been forgotten. It had changed to Mrs. or Misters. Such a shame, considering that those honorifics such as San seemed to be more efficient. Unfortunately, people at this period wouldn't know about it. Snort. "You can't even win against him, even though you're an A rank while he's a D rank," Tasha grumbled while crossing her arms. Ayaka was shocked to hear such a response from Tasha. After all, it was a norm that people normally couldn't defeat another magician with a higher rank, and they had the difference of 3 ranks to boot. Even though she idolized Tasha, she couldn't swallow this one. "I can win." Even I couldn't win against him. How can you?" Tasha snorted. "Isn't it because you're a brocon? You couldn't hit him," Haruko immediately said. "How about sparring against each other? We can use the student council's field and make an unofficial fight." "No way." Kai was the first one to reject that idea. He didn't have any intention of doing that. "Are you scared?" "Fufu. I never thought that Tasha's brother would be a scaredy cat." Haruko provoked him. No, her target was Tasha. "Of course my brother is not scared." "Fufu, don't you want to see it too? You can try baiting with wealth, like using money or weapons. Or are you too scared to be defeated by a rank D magician?" Haruko was trying to get inside Ayaka's mind too. Maybe it was because she had gotten used to this kind of job, but it seemed that she managed to convince her. "I can put a new weapon from the Kudo group as a bet. It's also a sword, and you can release it any time, since it's in the form of a bracelet. Its output and efficiency are also top-notch." Tasha's eyes blinked. She knew about the Kudo group. Their weapons were indeed top-notch. She looked at the sword that she gave just now. "Go, Kai. You can do it." Kai face-palmed. He knew that it was easy to bait her. He looked at Yajima Haruko and thought, "What a fearsome person. I already have this weir." Crack. Kai wanted to avoid this, but before he managed to say anything, the sword broke into pieces. The perpetrator was his sister. After breaking the sword she had given him, she turned to Kai and smiled. "I'm sorry. It seems that the weapon is broken. It's only a cheap weapon." "Kai, it's time for you to get a high-tech weapon." Kai sighed. I can't fight without a weapon, you know. You broke it just now. Tasha immediately realized that you can use a weapon from the student council. Haruko was also eager to see his power. After all, sound magicians were rare. That's right. You can use the equipment in the student council. Tasha also nodded in approval. All right, it's settled then. We'll have our duel after school. You didn't expect to have a chance to skip class, did you? Haruko suddenly said that. They finally remembered that they would have gone to class if this farce didn't happen. Kai and Ayaka were in the same class, so they went in the same direction. Of course, Ayaka wasn't that polite to him anymore, saying that she would win and the like. While leaving, Kai took a glance toward Haruko. He didn't know what she was planning, but she grasped people's personalities very well. He placed her in his dangerous women list. She placed second, while his mother was first. As for his sister Tasha, she was just a bit annoying, not dangerous. Haruko looked at his disappearing back and sighed. She recalled some memories while taking out her necklace and said with a bitter voice, "So, you really don't remember me, Kai?" Chapter 4. Class Kai and Ayaka arrived in their classroom. Fortunately, the teacher had yet to arrive. There was only a big seat on the back of the classroom. In the classroom, the tables were not one-person tables. Instead, it was a two-people table. After Ayaka and Kai entered the classroom, they became the stars of the classroom. No, to be precise, it was Ayaka. As she was an heiress of Kudo Group, the #1 weapon provider in United Asia, it was obvious that many people would try to get on her good side. In this room, there were only 30 students, but the tables were enough for 40 students. When there was only an empty table left, it was very obvious that a few men had reserved the seat for her. Of course, there were a few female students who did that as well. Since the number of males was far lower than them, the male students who did that obviously had hidden intentions. Kai didn't care and immediately went to the empty table. "Miss Ayaka, may I have the pleasure to be your seatmate?" "Miss Ayaka, I'm Takaoka, I'm from." "Miss Ayaka, nice to meet you." They ignored Kai, who came along with her. Obviously, judging from his average look alone, there was no way he was her boyfriend or something along the line. So, they didn't really care about him. It might be a different matter if they knew that Kai was the younger brother of Tasha Carter. It might even become a scandal. After he took his seat, the only one who approached him was George. "Yo, how is it?" George wanted to ask about the matter just now. Nothing. Kai didn't want to reply. Not long after, Ayaka suddenly came toward him and sat beside him. Everyone was surprised to see that. Who is he? What the fuck is going on? Impossible. It became a ruckus, especially among men. Even George, who was beside him, had his jaw dropped to the ground. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He was wondering about what happened after he had gone. George knew that Kai was the younger brother of Tasha Carter, but this knowledge only made him misunderstand the situation. He thought that there was some kind of relationship between the Kudo Group and Tasha Carter. Kudo Group only had one successor, which was Kudo Ayaka. To have her sitting beside him, how could one not think like that? Kai turned his head and looked at Ayaka. "What are you doing here?" "I don't know anyone, and I feel that they have ulterior motives when they approach me, but I don't feel anything like that from you," Ayaka said. "Well, there's no rule saying anything about choosing seats, so I will still sit here even if you don't want it." Kai sighed. He was wondering whether he should change his seat. After all, many people glared at him with a murderous glance. He took a look at George's seat. He already had a seatmate. As for the others, he didn't know them. He finally shrugged his shoulder. The rest also wanted to make a ruckus about this, especially when they saw the big headphones on his head. They cursed him in their heart. Not long after, the teacher came. The teacher was a pretty young lady. Her age seemed to be around 24 or 25. In other words, she was in her prime. She might be older though, since people could slow down their aging process. Her long, dark green hair was tied into a ponytail. She wore a formal suit paired with a black skirt. Her eyes were strict, and she might even be one of those killer teachers. But at least she had a great body, big bust, and stuff. "All right. I welcome you to my class. I will be the one to teach you about magic for a year. My name is Shirotsuka Sanae. Well, the culture might have been abandoned, but I'd prefer it if you call me sensei." Kai was astonished. This teacher seemed to be preserving the tradition. which had been ruined because too many nations came to Japan as refugees. The culture had been changing over time, but there were still some who preserved it. Of course, they still respected those who preserved their culture. After all, they didn't have the time to argue about which culture was right and which one was wrong. They should use that energy to fight the magical beasts. All right, I will start calling your names first. To know you was my obligation, she said uninterestedly. Kai's ears even picked up another emotion in that tone. She might consider that teaching them was a hassle. After I call your names, please stand up and raise your hand so others can know you. First, Akagawa Sonoe. Here. A pretty student with pink hair rose from her seat and raised her hand. Shirotsuka Sanae nodded her head. You can sit down next, Chitsuwa Raira. Here. Shirotsuka Sanae nodded again and continued. She called a few more before Kai's turn came. Kai Carter. Here. Kai stood up and raised his hand with his headphones still on. It took the crowd a bit longer to react. Good, next. Kudo Ayaka. Shirotsuka Sanae didn't bother with it though. Here. Kudo Ayaka, who sat next to him, stood up and raised her hand. She then sat back. Of course, it was different for everyone. They were finally able to react. What Carter? He's Kai Carter. The younger brother of Tasha Carter. You mean that famous Tasha Carter? One of the world's S-rank magicians. Wait, he's sitting beside Kudo Ayaka from Kudo Group. But she was the one who chose to sit there at first. Don't tell me Kudo Group joined hands with Tasha Carter. It might be the case. They must also have tied the relationship. Since Kudo Group didn't have any male heir, they sent their only princess. What? It turned into an uproar. Numerous were burned by jealousy. After all, Kudo Ayaka was not just rich, but she was extremely stunning. She was a dream girl. I am not. Kudo Ayaka rose from her seat again and tried to deny their claims. Unfortunately, her face was flushed red when she denied them. It was not at all convincing, to be honest. Seeing they were not convinced by her, she turned to Kai. You should try to explain it too. Kai tried to say it to them seriously. Yes, we are not. The others also looked at his claim, but the way he said it was a bit unconvincing. Although he said it seriously, it was not like he showed any interest in his expression. In fact, from others' point of view, he just said it casually and was uninterested in denying it. Bang! A sudden loud slamming noise was heard from their back. The teacher slammed the table as she was frustrated. It's good that you two have a relationship. After all, we need to repopulate our planet, and the male population is too small. Anyway, just keep the place and time in mind when you're flirting, she said frustratedly. At least don't let me see it. DM, why don't men see me? I have a good body too. But I'm still single, even though I'm already 26 now. She unconsciously complained in front of everyone. Isn't it because of your attitude? Everyone had the same thought when they heard this. Sensei, can we also use headphones in class? One of the male students asked. He was jealous of Kai, since he was also captivated by Ayaka. But after knowing Kai's real identity, he knew he couldn't fight him. He was trying to point out a fault in him in a roundabout way, which was why he asked this question. Shirotsuka Sanae obviously knew his hidden intention. She replied, He's a special case. It's for a medical reason. The school has informed me about it, and I have also seen the medical certificate. Don't worry, he can hear you just fine. All right, all of you shut up. I will continue next. Meikawa Sada. Here. Shirotsuka Sanae called the students one by one. It wasn't a surprise that the number of females in this class was 22, while there were only 8 males in this class. After she finished, she finally started her lecture. All right. You might have already heard about the magical beasts, but I'll still inform you again since it's in the school regulations. Magical beasts have the same classification as magicians, which means that there are F-rank magical beasts up to S-rank magical beasts. Magicians and magical beasts are equal. That means an F-rank magician can kill an F-rank magical beast, and vice versa. Magical beasts have their advantage with their number and physical ability, while we, magicians, have the advantages of magic power and weapons. Not to mention, we have our brains to come up with strategies while magical beasts attack us with their instinct. Unless you carelessly approach them, you should be able to kill them in a one-on-one battle. Just be careful if you meet a group of magical beasts. Of course, high-level magical beasts are an exception. There are numerous intelligent magical beasts out there. Usually, they are powerful magical beasts, and they dwell inside their territories. If there's a magical beast outbreak attacking, there's a high chance there's at least one of them. Alright, that's enough for the magical beasts for the time being. Before I go into more detail, we'll talk about humans. Every person has their own symbol, which signifies their power. I have a gust symbol, which means that I'm a wind magician. We, humans, could only get pushed back by evolved magical beasts. When we found out that humans can also evolve through children, it was already too late, as the human population had been reduced to half. The number decreased even further when we fought back. After a long fight, the number of humans had been reduced to only 5% of its original population. The world was no longer populated by humans. Instead, it was populated by monsters. Studying here comes with huge prestige and huge responsibilities. You'll need to fight in the front lines and start regaining our land. So make sure you work hard and don't underestimate the magical beasts. Chapter 5. Match. Alright, let's move on to magic. As you might already know, after researching for so long, we managed to simplify magic with magic circles. I'm sure that all of you can already use this magic circle, but I'll still introduce it to you. Sanae raised her hand to her front. Not long after, a green magic circle appeared on her hands. The magic circle had a 1-meter radius, but the most noticeable thing about this magic circle was the 3 wavy lines that looked like a symbol of blowing wind. This is the most simplified way to use your magic. If you use a magic circle every time you use magic, it will reduce the magic power spent and boost your power. Each person has their own unique magic circle. One of the most noticeable things is the 3 wavy lines in the center of my magic circle. It is my magician's mark. How can we use a magic circle? Can anyone help me answer this? Here. Kudo Ayaka stood up. Well, you can answer it, Miss Honor Student. Although she didn't really like it when he called her Miss Honor Student, Ayaka decided to ignore it. Yes, we channel our magic power to our mark, then channel it to anywhere we want. If we want to use magic from our hands, we should channel it to our hands and imagine the magic circle. That's right. If you want to use it from your feet, then feel free to do so. You are free to do anything you want because magic is versatile. There is no useless magician. They just haven't found the right way to utilize their magic, Sanae said. Anyway, let me continue. The most important thing for you to master is mana control. If you can't control your mana, you won't be able to control your magic. So for this year, we will be working on your mana control, be it theoretical or practical. So prepare yourselves. Alright, that's enough for the introduction. I'll continue with our topic here. Sanae continued her lesson, and her expression was the same the entire time. It was a poker face, as she didn't have any interest in the topic. The class will be held from 10 to 2 every day. Well, it will only be 5 days a week, and we will have a practical class every Friday. After that, the students are free to do what they want to, but most of the students will go with a club to enhance their strength. Just as she finished saying the last word, the bell rang. Hearing that bell, Sanae immediately stopped teaching. Alright, the class is over. Whether you want to go home or join a club, I don't care. Just make sure you submit the application form if you wish to join a club. Let's go fight. Ayaka looked at Kai and said. When everyone heard that, they immediately misunderstood since they didn't know about Ayaka's and Kai's fight. Not only that, she even dragged Kai out of the class. After they went out of the class turned into an uproar. What was that? Am I dreaming? No, the class idol is taken. I'm frustrated because I can't fight his status Kaya. Maybe I should also approach him. That way he would also take care of me with the money of Kudo Group. I'll be able to live comfortably. That is a good plan. George shook his head in disbelief. He became even more convinced that the Kudo Group had sold their princess to Kai so they could pull Tashikata to their group. Ayaka didn't know about the ruckus she had made because of her naivety. Her only thought was to prove her strength. She dragged Kai to the student council room. Knock, knock. Come in. Ayaka opened the door and saw Haruko, Tasha, and one other person inside. She had dark blue hair that was tied into a ponytail, small blue eyes, and a graceful body. Even so, one could feel an aura of a warrior emanating from her. Let me introduce her. She is the vice president of the student council. Her name is Tabata Rhea. She said she wanted to look at the fight after I told her about it. Well, you might already know about her. She's one of the top 10 in our school. She holds numerous experiences under her belt. So, this Tasha's brother, Kai Carter. Truly a particular one. She came closer to Kai while ignoring Ayaka. When she looked at Kai's appearance, there was nothing out of the ordinary, but when she tried to focus on him, she didn't know why. But her guts told her that this man was dangerous, as she was experienced in combat, especially with life and death combat against magical beasts. She trusted this feeling a lot, as it had helped her countless times. She didn't feel anything from Ayaka, so she ignored her, even though she was going to be a student council member, as she had been invited to join the student council. Her feeling told her that if she fought with this guy, she might lose if she wasn't careful. This Kai's had something more than one could see with naked eyes. I am Tabata Rhea. You can just call me Rhea. I don't really mind about being juniors or seniors. Nice to meet you. She stretched her hand for a handshake. Kai shook her hand. Yes, nice to meet you. My name is Kai Carter. Then she went to Ayaka as a formality. Pour her, then follow me, Haruko said, while moving toward another door inside the room. Kai, Ayaka, and Rhea followed her. Tasha came to Kai and whispered, Kai, you must win this fight. Don't hold back. We're talking about the high-tech weapon from Kudo Group here, so we need to take advantage of this. Ayaka was eager to prove her power in this fight. As a proud princess of Kudo Group, she also wanted to show Tasha her power, as she was her idol. As for Rhea, she was observing Kai's movements from beginning to end. In others' eyes, Kai might seem like he was just walking normally. But in an experienced fighter's eyes, Kai's movement was precise with no redundant movements. If she attacked Kai, she might not be able to hit him. Of course, that was on the premise that she held back on her power so she wouldn't injure him. They came across a room full of weapons. Swords, axes, spears, bows, guns, and many others. You can pick a weapon from here first before we enter the next room, which is the field, Haruko said. Kai just picked some random blades. He was fine as long as the length was similar. Surprisingly, Ayaka also chose a weapon here. It was a surprise because she shouldn't lack weapons, since she was from the Kudo Group. I don't want you to say that I could only win with my weapon as an excuse. I will fight you on equal ground, she said while blushing. It seemed that she wanted to win this fight. Fair and square. Their difference in rank was already big enough though. After choosing their respective weapons, they went to a small field with a size of 2 classes. It was 7 meters wide and 20 meters long. Kai and Ayaka stood on the field, while Tasha, Haruko, and Rhea were on the side. The distance between Kai and Ayaka was 5 meters. It wasn't much, but it was enough to cast a spell. Haruko came to the front and announced, I will announce the rules of this fight. First, no killing or usage of deadly spells. If the situation becomes dangerous, I, Tasha, or Rhea will stop the fight. Second, the match will be decided after one of you surrenders or falls unconscious. Please keep in mind this is only a friendly match. You don't need to mind about the field, as it has been reinforced by magic, so it won't break apart even if you blow it up. Kai and Ayaka nodded their heads to her, signifying that they understood. Haruko smiled while walking back. She took a coin out of her pocket. The match will start as soon as the coin reaches the ground. You may activate your weapons first. Kai and Ayaka activated their weapons. Kai's weapons were 2 swords, while Ayaka used a spear. Before the match started, Kai took off his noise-cancelling headphones. The sound from his surroundings started echoing in his ears. He heard not just everything in the room, but even the people outside the building. He could hear students trying to recruit new students to their club, and others. He looked at Haruko and nodded. Seeing that both of them were ready, she tossed the coin in her hand. Cling. As soon as the coin reached the ground, Ayaka made her first move. A red magic circle appeared on her hand. There was a blaze symbol on the magic circle, firebirds. Suddenly, around 10 firebirds appeared from the magic circle and flew toward Kai. They were scattered so Kai could only dodge to the side. To her surprise, Kai didn't even take this seriously. He didn't dodge to the side. Instead, he only positioned himself, and his pose became a bit weird. Boom, boom, boom. Surprisingly, the firebirds passed through him without hitting him. They passed him with only an inch from his cheek, leg, and hands. but not a single one managed to hit him. All of them were dumbfounded except for Tasha. They couldn't believe it and thought, how did he dodge them? Ayaka gritted her teeth and used that spell once again. He must be lucky just now, she thought. Firebirds. But Kai dodged it once again. She became a bit frustrated to see Kai dodge her attack so effortlessly. She tried to attack him with her spear. Fool! Tasha couldn't help but comment. Haruko and Ria looked at her in confusion, but the answer they sought would be given as soon as she switched to melee combat. Kai showed his prowess. He used his sword skillfully and suppressed Ayaka. Ayaka tried to use her spear to find Kai's weak point, but all she got was suppression from Kai. If she continued this way, she would lose sooner or later. Another magic circle appeared on her back. Fire wings. A pair of wings made of fire appeared on her back as she flapped the wings to pull back and create distance from Kai. She made another magic circle on her hand. Burn to cinders, flares, Nas. Chapter 6. Conclusion. Burn to cinders, flares. A few whips made of fire appeared from the magic circle. Kai dodged all of them pretty easily. The flares were trying to hit him, but to no avail. Kai suddenly moved around her and made a counterattack. On the side, Haruko and Rhea were astonished by Kai. They knew that Kai was only a D-rank magician. But this D-rank magician was toying an A-rank magician in front of their eyes. Although Ayaka seemed to not have that many experiences under her belt, it didn't change her rank. She was an A-rank magician. Their difference was big enough to have her at least land an attack on him. But Kai skillfully avoided her attacks one by one. It was like he knew where she was going to attack. If she couldn't hit him, sooner or later, she would exhaust her magic power and Kai would win. Kai also used his sword to fend off her attacks a few times. Looking at their shocked expressions, Tasha smiled smugly. Hehe, this is Kai's prowess. He could hear every movement from a few kilometers away. How can he not hear your movement when you're in front of him? Kai heard everything. Your muscle, magic movement inside your body, everything except your thoughts since he said it didn't produce a sound. Anyway, he can hear everything that produces a sound. Using that information, he can predict where the attack is going to be and what you're going to do. What? Rhea was shocked. Even Haruko opened her mouth in astonishment. Rhea couldn't help but said, Isn't it like seeing the FUT? It is like seeing the future, right? Tasha completed Rhea's sentence. Tasha smiled. Well, it is not. It is more like a prediction. Even though he's sure that the attack is going to be that way, he always leaves room for adjustment. He's very careful and very hard to bait. Tasha, if he's that strong, why is he a D-rank magician? He should be a B-rank, if not an A-rank magician, Rhea asked. Well, sound magicians are pretty rare. People tend to have elemental magic such as fire, water, ice, wind, and others. He's just like those people who have space, summoning, or any special powers like those. But unlike space or summoning, the government couldn't measure his power. His thoughts are unique, and so is the way he uses them. The government might have a set of measurements for space and summoning. Sadly, they don't have a good grasp of sound magicians. They only know that sound magicians are auxiliary magicians that aren't very useful in battle. With his current magic power, he was granted a rank D from the government. Haruko and Rhea wanted to say something, but could only swallow their words. Well, most of it is due to his special ears, which no sound magician had in the past, Tasha added. After hearing her explanation, they started watching him more carefully. But for Haruko, her heart felt sweet. She thought happily, as expected of Kai. Sadly, you don't remember me. On the field, Ayaka started getting frustrated by Kai. None of her attacks managed to hit him. She kept attacking him while gritting her teeth. Are you a man? Stop dodging and attack me here, Kai sighed. He suddenly stopped moving. Ayaka thought it was her chance. She attacked him once again. Firebirds. Kai only raised his hand toward the firebirds while holding his sword, and a green magic circle appeared on his hand. Sound barrier. The firebirds crashed into Kai's magic circle. Much to her dismay, they were extinguished. What? Ayaka was surprised to see her firebirds extinguished just like that. He concentrated his magic power in that magic circle to block her attack. It's a popular technique among elites, as they could skillfully control their magic power. Rhea couldn't help but comment. She could use this technique too, but it was only after she reached her second year. and people had called her genius with just that. She was shocked to see that Kai managed to do that in his first year. No, he should have been able to use it before he even entered the school. But why did he use this skill? Don't tell me. Tasha suddenly realized that something was off. When she saw that Kai started raising his other hand and seemed to want to flick his finger, she immediately closed her ears with both her hands. Tasha! Both Rhea and Haruko were confused by her action before hearing an extremely high-pitched sound that attacked their minds. After Kai blocked her attack, Ayaka fell into confusion, but she immediately regained her composure and made another magic circle. I'm not done yet. Burn to cinders, flares. At the same time, Kai also raised his other hand. The magic circle on his other hand disappeared, and a new magic circle appeared on his other hand. There were also 2 magic circles that appeared on both of his ears. He looked at the incoming flares and smiled. He finally flicked his finger. Ting! A high-pitched sound suddenly echoed through the room. Hearing that sound, Ayaka immediately screamed, "Ah!" She tried to close her ears with her hands, but the damage had been done. The wing on her back disappeared as she couldn't control her magic power stably, and she fell to the ground. Not only that, but her fire attacks also disappeared on the way. With this one move, Kai disrupted her ability to use magic. Of course, if she had covered her ears beforehand, the situation might have turned out differently. Sadly, this was the first time she fought him, so she didn't know that he had this power. After Ayaka fell to the ground, Kai walked toward her leisurely. He pointed one of his swords to her neck. I win. Ayaka suddenly snapped from the pain in her ears. In just a single moment, Kai defeated her. Ayaka was still in disbelief. Ahem, Kai Kata wins. Haruko had recovered from Kai's attack and announced the result hurriedly. Tasha removed her hands from her ears casually as she didn't get hurt by Kai's attack. Kai nodded at Haruko and started walking away. Ayaka murmured, I lost. Kai put on his headphones again. Haruko and the others went to the arena, and Haruko acknowledged, it was a good match. I might lose to Kai too, if I don't know about this magic. Ayaka is also strong, but you don't have enough experience. You have too many redundant movements. But don't worry. In this school, you might have chances to spar with your classmates, and there are also real combat training sessions to provide you with life and death experiences. I believe that you have the potential to do so. After all, the ranks in our cards are not enough to explain our overall strength. Kai is an example of that. So, use this experience to make yourself stronger. Ayaka finally stood up and looked at Kai. I've lost. Hahaha, Kai is really the best. Now, let's go and pick your weapon, Tasha said happily. Sister Ayaka gritted her teeth. If she had known about his power, the result might have been different. But a loss is a loss. No matter how much she complained, it wouldn't change the result. She was taught that way by her family. My butler has been waiting for me, so if you want to, you can go with me now. Ayaka could only sigh. Tasha blinked her eyes. She grabbed Kai's hand and said, Let's go. I want to go with you too. Sadly, I have another matter I have to attend to here, so I can't go. Besides, I'm not invited, Haruko immediately said. I haven't met Uncle Kudo for a long time. The thought is enough. I will let my father know, Ayaka said. Both of their families seemed to have a good relationship. Haha, I'm just a bystander here. Anyway, Kai Kata, I want to invite you to the student council. With your ability alone, you're more than qualified to join us. Will you join us? Rhea suddenly asked him. Kai wasn't interested in this student council thing, so he rejected her. Thank you for Vice President Rhea's invitation, but I don't have any intention of joining the student council. Hearing Kai's rejection, she was caught off guard. Normally, people would be overjoyed to join the student council because of its well-known reputation, but the person in front of her rejected her just like that. She made a wry smile. Is that so? That's too bad. Haruko wasn't surprised by that though. She had expected for Rhea to be rejected by him. She was trying to come up with a plan to make him join the student council this whole time, but nothing came to her mind. I will let my butler know about it first. Ayaka was also surprised to see that Kai rejected Rhea's invitation. She thought that he was a fool. She was grumbling inside and decided to leave out of frustration. Hee, let's go, Kai. We're going to pick your weapon. Tasha was very eager to go. It was as though she was the one who won the weapon. Kai sighed and shook his head helplessly. He said, "You should give a call to Mother first." "Oh, that's right." Tasha almost forgot about that. She made a distance between them and called their mother. Not long after, her mother picked up the call. "Tasha, why are you calling?" "Mum, I'll be accompanying Kai to go to the Kudo group now to pick his weapons." "Kudo group? You mean that Kudo group?" Their mother was astonished to hear the name of the #1 weapon supplier out of her daughter's mouth. "Yes. If I'm not mistaken, Kudo's princess is also enrolling in the same year as him. And you said it's their new technology. It's impossible to get that unless you're, I see, as expected of my son. So my first daughter-in-law is Kudo Group's princess. With this, I can rest assured when leaving Kai to them." "What? No, Mom. Listen to me. She won't get a chance. I will be the only one for him. I am his only wife. But in this world, polygamy is legal, you know. The government even encouraged us to do so, not to mention, you're his sister. We don't have any blood relationship, so it's fine. As for the government, I'll abolish that rule after I rise in power." All right, whatever you say. I'll make a honeymoon plan soon for Kai." She didn't care about whatever Tasha said. "Mom, you will..." Clack. She hung up. Tasha gritted her teeth. She went back to Kai and said, "Let's go back. We don't need the weapon anymore." "But it's rude when you've been daring up till now," Kai said. "That's right. You shouldn't do that, Tasha." "It's very rude," Haruko also added. Rhea also nodded her head in agreement. Tasha bit her lips and pouted. "Fine, we'll immediately go home after we pick a weapon." "Let's go," she dragged Kai outside. An idea suddenly flashed on her mind. She smiled mysteriously. "Gehe," looking at Haruko's smile. Rhea immediately knew that she was planning something in her mind. As expected from her deputy, she knew her well. Chapter 7. Tasha dragged Kai outside. They saw Ayaka with an old man in a butler suit. The old man seemed harmless, but it couldn't escape Kai's and Tasha's eyes. The old man was strong, as his kind eyes were strict yet ferocious. They could tell that this old man had experienced countless battles outside. After talking with Ayaka, the old man then looked at them. Kai and Tasha only nodded their heads solemnly. He made the most amiable smile possible to them. "I have heard so much about you, Miss Tasha. To drive for an S-rank magician, it is my honor." Then he turned to Kai. "This must be your younger brother, Kai Carter. You have truly good eyes." As expected of the man who defeated young Miss Ho-Ho, Uncle Rio, Ayaka shouted while blushing. Maybe it was because the butler just teased her, but Ayaka didn't have any hostility against Kai anymore. At first, she was frustrated that she lost, but in just an instant, she accepted her loss as though it was something trivial. "This is my grandfather's butler. His name is Rio Ferdian. He was my grandfather's comrade before he became my grandfather's butler. You can also say he's my grandfather's second in command." "Ho-ho, you are overpraising me, young miss. I'm just a worn-out butler. I've told him and my grandfather about the weapon. My grandfather wanted to invite you to our home so that he can give the weapon personally. He said that he was curious about you. How about it?" Kai and Tasha looked at each other before Tasha nodded her head. "All right, we accept." Surprisingly, the one he was interested in was Kai, not Tasha, as Ayaka said you to Kai. It was certainly surprising for someone to be more interested in Kai rather than Tasha. An S-rank magician, Tasha agreed because of that. She was happy that Kai got the recognition he deserved. He wanted to see if Ayaka's grandfather was serious about it, or if it was only a scam so he could see her. "Then please." Butler Rio opened the car door for them. The car was a limousine, as one would expect from a wealthy family. But instead of moving with tires, it was floating 20 centimeters above the ground, like the bus from before. As it didn't need an engine, it didn't pollute the air. Every source of energy had been changed to magic energy. Every magical beast had a core inside them, and the higher their rank, the bigger and more powerful their core would be. These cores were called magical cores. After finding out that the cores could store magic energy, humans stopped relying on other energy sources such as oil, gas, and others. It was far more powerful and efficient than those outdated sources of energy. Ayaka got in first and invited them to enter the car, and Kai and Tasha then entered the car in response. After a 20-minute ride, they finally arrived at a grand mansion. To pass the garden alone, they needed a 1-minute ride to arrive at the villa. But what made the situation awkward was that no one spoke a single word during this whole ride. Kai wasn't interested in the ride and the mansion. He closed his eyes, trying to relax this entire time. As for Tasha, her eyes were glued to the window, looking at various things outside, especially the luxurious ones. On the other hand, Ayaka didn't take her eyes away from Kai. She recalled the fight in her mind while looking at him. She was thinking, why did I lose? Why could he defeat me all the time? After continuously recalling those images, she slowly realized her mistakes. She clenched her fist, wishing to restart that fight. If she were able to restart the battle, she would come up with a better fight than that. As soon as they arrived, Butler Rio opened the car door and said, "We have arrived." Ayaka and Tasha finally looked away while Kai slowly opened his eyes. Ayaka came out first, followed by Tasha and Kai. It was truly an enormous mansion. From the width alone, it was similar to the length of a football field, as one would expect from a wealthy family. In comparison, Kai and Tasha's house was the size of their security post. "My lady, your grandfather wants to meet you. I will lead the guests from here. You should meet your grandfather first." "All right." Ayaka nodded her head and went on her way. "This way, please." Rio Ferdian started leading Tasha and Kai to a big meeting room. You can consider it as your home. The room only had sofas and a big table in the middle. The decoration was luxurious. "Please wait in this room for a bit. I will bring you something to drink." Kai sat on the soft sofa while Tasha looked around. Not long after, the butler came back with 2 cups of tea. The tea was aromatic. The butler had yet to put the tea on the table, but the rich aroma had penetrated their nose. "Please," he said, after putting the tea on the table. After around 5 minutes, there were 2 people's footsteps coming toward this room. A muscular older man appeared from the door, accompanied by Ayaka. According to the information, the older man should be around 80, but his appearance said otherwise. Although his hair had become white, his body didn't lose its strength. His pride didn't disappear from his face, and his eyes didn't lose their sharpness. Kai and Tasha immediately stood up. "Ho ho, such a fine young man and young lady. My name is Kudo Taro, Ayaka's grandfather." He stretched his hand to Tasha for a handshake, and Tasha accepted it. Then he turned to Kai and stretched his hand. But when Kai stretched his hand and tried to shake his hand, Kudo Taro suddenly spun his body and sent a fist toward him. "Grandfather." Ayaka was confused with his sudden action. Kai furrowed his eyebrows and ducked to dodge the fist. Kai didn't stop there. As soon as he ducked, he tried to kick Kudo Taro's feet. Taro jumped a little bit and tried to attack Kai's foot with his weight. Of course, with this, Tasha managed to react. Before he managed to step on Kai's foot, she sent a kick toward Taro's head. Kudo Taro immediately used one of his hands to block this kick. Buzzers, lightning. When he grabbed Tasha's foot, he instantly felt a spark from it. Tasha's kick was actually reinforced by her lightning. He would have been able to block Tasha's kick if she had done it normally. Unfortunately, she reinforced it with her magic. It threw his balance a bit. Kai didn't let this chance go. He used his hands to stabilize his balance and sent a horse kick to him. Of course, he concentrated his magic power into his feet to give more power to his kick. It blew Taro away. He crashed onto the wall. Tasha didn't let him go. She made a pistol hand gesture as a purple magic circle appeared in front of her hand. In the middle of the magic circle, there was a lightning symbol, signifying her magician mark. The lightning she shot was like a laser boom. The lightning exploded like a direct hit, as smoke came out because of the collision. "Grandfather," Ayaka shouted as she didn't manage to react this entire time. She was surprised to see her grandfather suddenly attack Kai. But the most surprising thing was when she saw Kai blow her grandfather away. She immediately ran toward her grandfather before she heard her grandfather's voice behind the smoke. "Aya, you two are truly ruthless to this old bone." The smoke started to clear, and they could see a blue magic circle containing a frozen crystal on it. He released it at the last moment to block Tasha's lightning attack. He came out from the smoke slowly, walking toward Ayaka and patted her head. He then turned to Kai and Tasha. "This old man was just curious about the boy that defeated my dearest princess. to forgive this old man. If someone attacked you just because of their curiosity, will you accept their apology? Tasha said while narrowing her eyes. Haha, definitely not. That's why this old man will give you compensation. Since Ayaka promised you a weapon, then this old man will provide another weapon for you. Kai and Tasha looked at him but didn't say anything. They didn't trust him as he just attacked them out of nowhere. You don't need to look at me like that. I'm sincere about that. I was just curious about my soon-to-be grandson-in-law, so I couldn't help but to want to see it with my own eyes. What? Tasha immediately shouted when she heard that while Ayaka was bewildered. Grandfather, even Kai widened his eyes slightly. Haha, don't you know the tradition? I can't say it's a tradition. It's the fate of this family. Whoever defeats Akudo will certainly marry them. Since you defeated Ayaka, then you are bound to marry her sooner or later. Even if I stopped you or you didn't do anything at all, you two will get together. Or even if her father or mother didn't do anything, you two will still get together. Grandfather. What do you mean? Ayaka was shocked. She just heard the most shocking thing in her life. Haha, don't you know I'm the same? Back then, your grandmother defeated me. Not long after that, we got married. Even your mother also defeated your father. I remember. Back then, they had a match to see who was stronger. Because he took pity on your mother, he purposely lost to her. But it only made her mad at him. She hated him from the bottom of her heart. Fate sure worked like magic. A few years after that, with various encounters, they became a couple and gave birth to you. It was the same for the generations before me. So that was the reason why I was curious and wanted to test you. Don't worry, I won't do anything. I won't stop you or encourage you. There won't be an engagement or anything like that. I just want to see whether you can escape from something like this. Hell no. A deep, high-pitched sound was heard. Chapter 8. Going hell no. When they turned their head, they were surprised by the sudden rejection, coupled with killing intent. It turned out that Tasha was the one who said that. I'm only telling you that. As for the future, I don't know. As I said, I won't intervene with the young one's business. But I won't mind if it happens, though. Taro shrugged his shoulder with a chuckle. After his first sentence, Tasha calmed a little bit. But after she heard his last sentence, she immediately looked at Taro with killing intent. Kai suddenly pulled her hair to stop her. All right. It isn't very polite to look at someone like that. All of them were shocked to see Kai suddenly appear behind her. The one who got surprised the most was Kudo Taro. Kai had moved behind her before he knew it. He didn't make any sound at all. He felt his presence, but because he was a silent type, he didn't have that much presence anyway. Because of that, if he put his guard down, Kai might be able to kill him without him realizing it. Upon realizing that, he became more and more satisfied with Kai, hoping that Kai will also become a part of the family. He didn't know about his magician rank, but to be able to defeat his granddaughter, although she underestimated him, was more than enough, especially if his problem was only his magic power. After researching for many years, there were a few magic liquids that were sold on the market. That magic liquid could increase the magic power inside one's body. He could just buy it with his wealth, and Kai's problem would be solved. Ayaka told him how she got defeated by Kai. He didn't find any problem with his fighting skills. Although he didn't have that much experience, he could gain it bit by bit in the academy. He also knew that Kai was a sound magician from Ayaka. If he could utilize it in battle, he might even be comparable to space magicians, summoners, and the like. Ho ho, he laughed, shifting his body toward Kai. All right, I won't say anything about that anymore. Follow me so we can choose a perfect weapon for you. He then walked to the door while inviting all of them. Ayaka was the first one to follow him. Then Kai also started following suit, and that shocked Tasha. She gritted her teeth and started walking too. She kept staring at Kudo Taro with hostile eyes. Kai decided not to bother her anymore. Kudo Taro led them to a little mysterious 5x5-meter building beside their house. Kudo Taro then took out a golden key from his pocket. Kai and Tasha thought it must be the door key, as they saw the keyhole on the door. Surprisingly, he didn't put the key into the keyhole. Instead, he channeled his magic power to the key. Not long after, a small magic circle appeared from the key. Kudo Taro then moved to the right and presented the key in the middle for a while. Suddenly, the door was opened. There was nothing inside the building besides floors and some lighting. In the previous location, where Kudo Taro presented his key, was a big black box. Judging from the situation, the magic circle activated the mechanism inside and made the door open. Kudo Taro and Kudo Ayaka went inside casually. Kai only stopped a little bit before realizing what this building was. It was an elevator. Seeing that Kai went in, Tasha also followed him. The elevator then went down. Ho ho. This is an elevator toward an underground passage to our company. As you might already know, the richer we are, the more dangerous our lives will be. The company is only 100 meters away from us. We thought about making a skywalk, but it was dangerous as a sniper might be able to assassinate us. So we built this underground passage. Don't worry, this is the safest passage in the world. You can judge it from the entrance itself. Even if you try to blow it up, you can't. Of course, there might be some magicians that could bypass the system, he said while glancing at Tasha. He didn't mind saying all of this since they would become a part of his family. At least, that was what he thought. Because of the marriage thing, Tasha was not polite to him anymore. Of course, she had expected something like this. She couldn't escape if Kai chooses to have multiple wives in the future. Their parents always said that to him. Even so, she couldn't accept it. Kai had given everything to her, so she wanted to give her everything to him if she had to, including her life. Sadly, Kai didn't care about that. After a few seconds, the door opened again. They saw a huge passage without anything in it. Taro led them through the passage. Ayaka kept glancing at Kai unknowingly, thinking about when he blew her grandfather away. Although her grandfather was not serious, she couldn't do that. Luckily, Tasha didn't realize this, as she was too focused on the old man. If she had, there might be another drama. After walking for a minute, they arrived at the entrance of the building. There were two huge men with black suits and pairs of black sunglasses standing in front of the entrance. "Welcome, Grandmaster." Both of them immediately greeted him while bowing. "Good job as usual. This old man wants to walk around with these youngsters. I don't need a guide." "Understood. Please have a nice day, Grandmaster." Both of them also took out two cards and channeled their magic into the card. A magic circle appeared once again, and they tapped the card to another black box. The entrance finally opened. Kudo Taro nodded his head. He glanced at Tasha and Kai. "Let's go." Tasha and Kai followed him through this metal door. They didn't take another elevator even though they were underground. After all, they had arrived at their destination. The ground floor was to accept customers. Whenever they wanted to test a weapon, they would be led to the underground. They arrived in a certain room. The room was spacious with little furniture inside, but there were a few cylinders stuck on the wall. Kudo Taro went to the cylinder and put his hand on the cylinder while saying, "Becca, it's me. What teacher? I'll go there immediately." Surprisingly, with a single call, this Becca suddenly went into a panic and ended the call as she rushed toward this room. Only a few seconds passed and she had arrived. She immediately came to Kudo Taro and greeted him. "Teacher, why didn't you call me when you were coming here?" She was a woman in her 20s. She had blonde hair and big blue eyes, with a pair of big round glasses on her eyes, making her look like a clumsy person. She wore a formal black suit with a black skirt that reached her knees. "Haha, it's fine. I'm just accompanying some youngsters to choose their weapons," he said while showing Kai and Tasha to her. "Yo-you." When she looked at Tasha, she instantly realized who she was. She immediately ran toward her and grabbed her hands. "You must be Tasha Carter. I've heard so much about you, I'm your fan." Tasha was startled when she suddenly grabbed her hands. This is Becca, my student." "Well, she only has 3 years of experience as my student. She decided to become my assistant in this group to improve. Anyway, she is a B-rank magician, but she might even be comparable to a full-fledged A-rank magician. Of course, she might not be comparable to an S-rank though." "Hehe, teacher, you're overpraising me. I'm just a clumsy person. As you might already know, she is Tasha Carter, and the one beside her is her younger brother, Kai Carter. They're going to choose weapons here." "Oh, then I will make sure that you two are satisfied." She didn't care about Kai Carter that much, as her idol, Tasha Carter, was in front of her. She made a gesture for them to follow her to the cylinders, although it was more directed to Tasha. "Sister Becca, it's too rude for you to prioritize someone just because she's your idol." Ayaka, who had been silent this entire time, suddenly spoke. When Becca heard that, she finally realized that Ayaka was also in the group. I'm sorry, it was rude of me, please. She made another gesture, signaling to follow her. Of course, it was also directed to Kai. Becca knew that Ayaka was also Tasha's fan, but at least she didn't act like her just now. She immediately regained her professional attitude after thinking about that. Kudotaro only smiled, looking at Ayaka, reprimanding her because of Kai, unless he misunderstood her intention, thinking that she might want to avoid Ayaka from snapping. Tasha looked at Kai, who nodded his head. They followed Becca to the cylinders. Becca asked, "Do you have any preferences?" Tasha only glanced at Kai, signaling that he should go first. Kai only shrugged his shoulders and said, "Two one-edged swords without a curve." Becca looked at Kai for a while. She didn't know why, but she felt that this Kai was even more important than Tasha. She recalled how Ayaka suddenly reprimanded her because she focused on her. She then glanced at Kudotaro, who only smiled at her. She didn't know what to do, as her head started sweating. She might need to research Tasha's younger brother after this. She should maintain her professional attitude for the time being. Very well, I will find the perfect weapon for you. Chapter 9, Weapon. Very well, I will find the perfect weapon for you. The cylinder's screen activated after she touched it. She did her job for 2 minutes before she asked again. Do you have any condition for your weapons, such as the color or style? Kai thought a bit, then shook his head. No, I'm good as long as I'm comfortable when using it. Very well. After another minute, the screen projected 3 weapons for them. The first single-edged sword had a 1-meter length blade with a white 20-centimeter handle. The sword looked bland but sharp. The second sword had a 100-centimeter blade and a 30-centimeter handle. The second sword seemed to emphasize power with that length, but it wasn't Kai's style. The third sword also had a 1-meter length blade, the same as the first sword, but the third sword had a chain on the back of its handle. Kai preferred using 2 swords at the same time. From the look of it, the third sword seemed to have a chain that could connect them. Sadly, Kai thought the chain was a hassle. It might be in his way in the battle. With that, his choice was obvious. I'll choose the first one. Very well. Becca then continued typing something that they couldn't understand. Not long after, the cylinder opened up its lid and presented them with a pair of bracelets. This is your weapon. She handed the bracelets to Kai. Each bracelet represents a sword. You can channel your magic power into the bracelet and say, "Summon to unleash the sword." If you decide only to use one of them, you can channel your magic power into one of the bracelets and say, "Summon." Although it looks bland, the sword itself is very sharp. How about trying to summon them? Kai looked at the boss first, Kudotaro. He nodded his head to Kai with a smile. He then made a bit of distance from the group. He put on the bracelets on each hand before channeling them with mana. He then said, "Summon." The bracelet turned into a sword handle as the blue-colored blade slowly made its appearance. Although the blue blade style was simple, it had a hidden charm that could make the user feel that the blade was definitely reliable. Kai tried to swing them around so he could feel the swords. He felt that he didn't need a long time to become accustomed to the swords. After a while, he stopped. Becca immediately gave another instruction. To deactivate it, you can say, "Recall." This can become an advantage or disadvantage, as the sword itself had a magic core in it. So even if you accidentally drop the sword will still be active. Recall. Kai immediately deactivated the swords and they changed back into bracelets. He checked his magic power after the usage. Surprisingly, he didn't lose any of his magic power. He also didn't feel any discomfort after using it. You don't need to use magic power for this weapon, as the magic core will supply the magic power first. Please don't forget to charge it with your magic power daily, so it won't suddenly take your magic power, Becca explained again. Kai nodded to her before walking toward Kudotaro. Thank you. He thanked him. Taro only raised his hand with the stop hand sign, telling him not to mind about it. Kai then walked to Ayaka and thanked her again. It's because I lost to you. All right. She crossed her arms and looked away while blushing. Kai only nodded at her with a smile. Well, at least this girl could also be cute like this, instead of just being annoying. At first, he thought of her as annoying. That, or it might be the effect of the brib, the new swords. He was happy to receive them, and it made her look cute in his eyes. Anyway, Tasha's turn came. A bow, is it? Even without Tasha saying anything, as her fan, Becca immediately knew her preferred weapon. Yes, Tasha affirmed. Becca immediately started typing whatever on the screen as fast as possible. She became fired up. Not long after, the screen projected 3 bows. The first bow was an ordinary longbow with a black and green ornament. The material for the bow had been chosen carefully to make the bow's power output and magic efficiency higher. The curve itself had gone through countless trials and errors to make an optimal curve. The second bow was a blue composite bow. The bow had numerous mechanisms to let the user feel comfortable. The mechanisms also increased the power output. In fact, this composite bow would have more power than the first bow. The third bow was a crossbow. Tasha didn't use a crossbow, so she immediately crossed this out. Becca presented her a crossbow, as this crossbow was the most powerful out of the 3. Sadly, it wasn't Tasha's style to use a crossbow. She preferred making her own arrows, using her magic power. Coupled with her lightning magic, the power output and speed immediately overshadowed the rest. She could also shoot multiple arrows at once, so she chose the first bow. I will choose the first bow. Very well. Becca didn't question her choice, even though the first bow was the worst out of the 3 bows. When the weapon came, it wasn't a bracelet, but a ring. Although it disappointed her a bit because she didn't get a match-up with Kai, she didn't show it. Becca handed her the ring. Tasha accepted it with a smile on her face. The bow materials had been chosen by experts to optimize power efficiency. It also helps in activating a magic circle. Becca started explaining again to Tasha, until finally, please try it first. We can change it if it doesn't suit your preference. Tasha also made a distance from them before she said, summon. The ring turned into a black bow with green ornaments on it. If Kai's sword looks simple and elegant, this bow looks strong and cool. Tasha tried to draw the bow to feel the string. She didn't have any complaints on the bow. She sometimes sparred with Kai. She didn't always use a bow since she also wanted to enhance her close combat. There was another reason for that. When she tried to hit Kai from afar, Kai always dodged her because of his exceptional hearing. She didn't have any problems with the new weapon. Although she was wary of this Kudo Taro, she didn't forget to thank him for the weapon. She also even thanked Ayaka, as she was a part of the reason she could get a weapon. If Ayaka didn't bother Kai, she wouldn't be receiving a weapon like this. Well, since both of you have picked a weapon, how about staying for a little longer for dinner with us? Even though she was thankful, Tasha couldn't accept that invitation. It was the same as giving Kai away to Kudo group. She grabbed Kai as a magic circle appeared beneath their feet. No thank you. Kai shook his head helplessly. He corrected her apologetically. We're honored by your invitation, but my sister and I have a prior arrangement, so we can't accept your invitation. If another chance comes, then we'd love to accept your invitation. He thought about reprimanding her when they arrived back home, but it was understandable for Tasha, who was so obsessed with Kai. She didn't care whether she was rude or not to other people if it concerned Kai. They then disappeared. The one she used just now was space magic. This was the reason why she could become an S-rank magician. She had 2 elements, which were lightning and space. Coupled with her magic power, she became an S-rank magician. Kurotaro didn't take offense to her action as she took Kai away rudely. He had heard various rumors about her, including her private identity as a brocon. After seeing her action just now, he confirmed that that was the case. He sighed. It seemed the road for his granddaughter would be hard. He was fond of Kai. Surely there might be a lot of people who had higher ranks than him. But he didn't seem fond of them. Those who had higher ranks than him were usually arrogant. On the other hand, Kai's power was deeper than he imagined. Kai was a D-rank magician. But there seemed to be more than that. He must be concealing his real power. He was different from a lot of people who loved to flaunt their power, whether it was to grab people's attention or for other reasons. Kai chose to use his power wisely. He laughed. Ho ho ho, Ayaka, Becca, don't mind about them. Ayaka was shocked when they suddenly disappeared so rudely after getting their weapons. After her grandfather told her not to mind it, she decided not to throw a fit. At least Kai's action was better. She decided to talk to Kai tomorrow. On the other hand, Becca was confused. Tasha appeared to be a cool beauty in front of the media, but the one in front of her was so different than the one she found in the media. She began to doubt the credibility of the media. Not only that, but Tasha's image began to crumble in her mind. Well, Her image had crumbled in Ayaka's mind. That's the reason why Ayaka reprimanded her for not being professional. Becca, since we have served the guest, you should go back to your work. Ayaka and I will go back home to have dinner. Understood, teacher. I wish you a great day. Ayaka, let's go. Yes, grandfather. See you later, Sister Becca. Thank you for your hard work. The two then left the building. Chapter 10. Discussion. Kudo Ayaka and Kudo Taro went back to their house for dinner. In the dining room, there were another two people in the room. The first one was a male in his 40s. He had short black hair with an undercut hairstyle. He was wearing a formal suit as he had just finished his work. He put down his chopsticks and finally said, "Father, I heard you brought two people into the company along with Ayaka. Who are they?" Although he appeared to be a strict person, he was not like that. He was only a normal father. Ho ho. So you know about it. As expected of my son. Even if you're busy, you still care about your daughter. Of course. I'm her father, and I should care about her well-being, he said righteously. I almost forgot, Ayaka. I got you a fiancé just now. He's Katsuragi Takaki from the Katsuragi house in the north. His father is my comrade back then, and we're pretty close. I've seen him today. He's handsome and is a good man that suits you the most. He's an A-rank magician to boot. Father, I don't need him. She slapped the table without caring about manners. Ayaka was flustered when she heard about this fiancé thing. She was just teased by her grandfather about Kai, and this thing suddenly came up. Her father was shocked to see her like that. Kudo Taro also narrowed his eyes, thinking about something Katsuragi house. If I'm not wrong, it's also one of the most prominent families in the north. Yeah, it's that Katsuragi. Kudo Taro glared at him and asked with a bit of a cold tone on his voice, "Yoshihiro, why didn't you ask me about this first?" Father, Ayaka's father, Kudo Yoshihiro, was startled to see such reactions from both Ayaka and his father. I just met him today, and we agreed to marry our children. He's also a good friend of mine, and I know what kind of person he is. Dear, this is also my first time hearing about it. Suddenly, the fourth person in the room spoke. She had long, straight brown eyes, like Ayaka. She looked at Kudo Yoshihiro with her black eyes. She tried to smile as she had a calm and elegant atmosphere around her. But for Yoshihiro, that calm of hers was like the calm right before the storm. Yoshihiro immediately got scared. This side of her made Yoshihiro not have the courage to have another wife. He's my friend's son. He's an A-rank wind magician. I've seen his attitude, and I'm satisfied with it. He won't marry her, Kudo Taro said, "Father." This time, both Yoshihiro and Ayaka's mother, Kudo Chio, were perplexed. "No, I'm not rejecting this marriage. I've decided not to stretch my hand in this matter, but... Both of them gulped. Ayaka finally realized what he was going to say. Sadly, she was too late to stop him. She already got her soulmate, according to our family fate. What? Yoshihiro rose from his seat, while Chio's mouth opened wide as she tried to cover it with her hand. "Grandfather," Ayaka shouted, embarrassed. "She has lost to someone." Chio asked. "I was just as surprised as you are. So after she unknowingly brought them here, I decided to test him. Surprisingly, he blew me away before I managed to land a hit on him. Not to mention, I was the one who made the first surprise attack." Both of Ayaka's parents couldn't utter a single word as their mouths refused to budge. Because of the shock, Chio was the first one who regained her composure. She asked with a smile, trying to treat it as a joke. "Father, you are exaggerating, right? Is he an S-rank magician?" "But there are only two S-rank magicians in this United Asia, and both of them are old." "No, he's a D-rank. According to Ayaka, he seems to be a sound magician. Although it was just a friendly exchange, I felt that his movement was different than those of students. In close combat alone, he should be around a third year's level, if not at the elite level. D rank, Yoshihiro, sound magician. Potmashi, Su, Chio, father. Please don't joke about this. He's only a sound magician and a D rank magician to boot, Yoshihiro said while trying to calm his heart down. Aren't you underestimating sound magicians too much? Besides, you shouldn't compare him to normal sound magicians. If it weren't for this country's ineffective method of measurement for sound magicians, he might be comparable to B-rank or A-rank magicians. Don't you know that the first space magician was underestimated by everyone on his side, as he was only a C-rank magician? He tried to make an unorthodox way of using space magic. After he perfected his style, he became undefeated, and his name went through history. Don't you know that the first summoner was underestimated because he could only summon an ordinary snake? He didn't give up, and eventually, his snake became an A-rank magical beast. He then managed to summon a few other beasts with the same level, and etched his name in history. Father, do you mean that he can become someone like that too? I don't know, Father. Yoshihiro was speechless. But he is indeed an unorthodox sound magician. I should mention his name first. His name is Kai Carter. Both of them were astonished to hear that familiar name. It was not an unknown name. In fact, the name Carter's would reverberate in one's ears every time they heard that name. If they thought about Carter, there would always be a certain person that came to their mind. One of the 3 S-rank magicians in the United Asia. She was known as a dual magician, with her lightning element and space element, Tasha Carter. There should be nobody that didn't know that name. Is he? Yeah. He's Tasha Carter's younger brother. But that is not my concern. I have met many people in my life, but I always found the most dangerous thing was the unknown, and he is one of them, Father. Although she's an S-rank, she is, after all, alone, and the Katsuragi family is certainly not afraid of her. I can't choose one of them, especially after I agreed with the engagement of Ayaka and Katsuragi Takaki. All of you. Why didn't you even ask me about it? First, I only want to get stronger. I don't want a fiancé. Ayaka suddenly struck the table with her hand and shouted. There was a trace of tears in the corner of her eyes, waiting to drop. Her feelings had been mixed up in a single day. She only wanted to get stronger and help the family, but all of this suddenly came to her. She had calmed down a little after the incident with Kai, but because of this discussion, she couldn't hold her feelings back now. She glared at her grandfather as well as both her parents. She left the room while shedding tears. The situation became depressing after she left. No one chased her because they had more important things to do. That's why I asked why you didn't ask me first. Stressed by the situation, Kudotaro complained. How about canceling it, dear? After all, they haven't met. You can try saying that it will depend on Ayaka's choice. It is the middle way. Well, just like the Katsuragi family, we are also not necessarily scared of a young S-rank magician. If she has reached the level of the other 2 S-rank, we certainly wouldn't be able to afford to offend her even with our current influence. Chiyo tried to make a suggestion. Kudo Yoshihiro's expression darkened. It was plain to see that the situation was not that easy. Then, what should we do, Father? Chiyo asked. You should cancel that engagement first. We will let nature take its course. Just say that your daughter will be the one to make the choice. Although they are a prominent family, their influence is only limited in the north. They can't threaten us here, more so with our current influence. Father, how about we just get rid of those 2 kids now? It is a simpler solution, Yoshihiro suggested. Even Kudotaro couldn't help but narrow his eyes. If you think you can do so, then you can try. But I'll tell you this. They have the potential to destroy our family in the future. You 2 can continue discussing this. I will look after Ayaka. Chiyo couldn't take it anymore, so she left the room. Seeing Chiyo leave the room, Kudotaro let out a long sigh. I'm still suggesting that we choose the middle way instead of that one. There are too many factors to consider if we use your way. Yoshihiro contemplated for a long time. After an hour of constant glaring from Kudotaro, his mind finally decided, all right. I'll try to cancel the engagement and tell my friend to let Ayaka choose. If his son can win her heart, then we won't say anything. Although this cursed tradition is like an enigma, I can't say anything about it. After all, it has been proven by every generation of the Kudos, be it in a normal way or in an unbelievable way. Is your friend on his business trip? If it's like that, then it might not be a problem. Yeah, he's on a business trip. But his son is not. He'll enroll at Genesis Magic Academy as a transfer student tomorrow, Yoshihiro said while sweating face-palming. Kudotaro sighed. He rose from his seat and started walking. You go handle the rest, I'm out. Chapter 11. A Hidden Scheme. Kai and Tasha finally arrived at their home. They opened the door and came inside while saying, Mom, Dad, we're back. Welcome home. Their mom came to the front to meet them. As she looked at her son Kai, she noticed the bracelets on his hands. Those white bracelets seemed to have a good artistic level, and so did the ring on Tasha's hand. Her eyes brightened when she saw them. She couldn't help but tease them. "So, where's my daughter-in-law?" "There is no daughter-in-law." Tasha was the first to react to that question. "But you two already got presents from her. How can I not meet her?" "They're not presents. They're our hard-earned rewards. They're not the same." "Fine, fine. Have you guys eaten yet?" Kai shook his head. "All right, let's eat first. This mom's instinct of mine told me that you two would come home without having eaten, so I've also prepared your portions," she said smugly. "Mom is the best. As long as you don't talk about this daughter-in-law thing." Tasha hugged her while smiling. The atmosphere was heartwarming. On the other hand, in another place, the atmosphere was the opposite. It was a chilling atmosphere. There were two guys in a hotel room. The first one was a middle-aged man with silver hair. He wore a white suit that complemented his silver hair. His silver eyes looked at the other guys strictly. "Son, white, that Yoshihiro just told me that he wanted to cancel the engagement," he said. His son had silver hair and silver eyes just like him, and his handsome face could definitely charm numerous girls. "What do you mean, Dad?" He was confused when his dad told him that, after all, he just got the news of the engagement earlier. "I also don't know what happened. He told me that he got in a fight with his daughter and wanted his daughter to choose her other half by herself. He told me that if she really chooses you, then he won't do anything to stop you." They were the Katsuragi's son and dad pair. The son, Katsuragi Takaki, asked in a worried tone, "Dad, why, I don't know, son. But since he doesn't appreciate our gesture, then we should just go back to the north." "No, Dad. I'll still enroll in Genesis Magic Academy. Since he allowed his daughter to choose, then I'll capture her heart." "Son, what did you say? Why are you being so obsessed with her? You are the next head of our Katsuragi family. Numerous women prettier than her will appear in your life. You can marry all of them and forget about her." "No, Dad. I don't want anyone except her." Katsuragi Takaki shook his head as he said with a firm heart. Back when he was only a kid, everyone, especially girls, only looked at him with hidden motives. Kudo Ayaka was the only one that didn't have such eyes. In his house, he was trained to be a leader. Being trained in that cold place, meeting Ayaka brought him warmth. He didn't know why, but at that time, his heart was captured by Ayaka. Ayaka also turned out to be a big beauty after she grew up. His obsession became more and more apparent, until around this time, his dad, Katsuragi Akagi, couldn't stop him any longer. He used a business trip as an excuse to introduce him to Kudo Yoshihiro and let them have an engagement. In the day, the process went smoothly, but at night, he was called by Yoshihiro, who wanted to end the engagement. He was angered when he heard that. Yoshihiro tried his best to explain to him, but anger was still in his heart even though they were comrades. "Takaki, after we achieve our ambition, you'll be able to get any woman you want." "Why, this is not what I taught you. I'm sorry, father. My heart is only for her," Takaki said. After the atmosphere became heavier, they stopped talking intimately. Katsuragi Akagi didn't call him son again. Instead, he called him with his name. Takaki Katsuragi was the same. He didn't call him dads anymore and called him formally. "We are going to take over the whole nation. Don't you know our pride as the Katsuragi family a few centuries ago? This was not called United Asia. This was our home, Japan. Because all of those magic beasts were appearing in every corner of the world, we accepted all of them as refugees, refugees. They are only refugees. Because of our country's strategic position, since we consisted of islands and advancements in technology, we could exterminate the magical beasts in our nation. But look at what we are now. We changed our name to United Asia. We might control the north, but how about the south? In the south, there are lots of big families from the surrounding nations. They control more than a third of our country and changed our proud name from Japan to United Asia. We are going to make them lose power and change their statuses back to refugees. We are going to change this United Asia back into Japan, with our Katsuragi family as the leader. You are the next leader of the Katsuragi family. Why are you so obsessed with a single woman? You need to take lots of women so our Katsuragi family won't lack a successor in the future. We have manipulated one of the S ranks in this country to do our bidding. Our Katsuragi family is famous for our medicine, and he, who is in need of our medicine, can only follow our orders. As long as we can get another S rank in this country, we can get rid of the other one and rule this country. My original purpose of letting you enroll in the Genesis Academy is for you to get that Tasha Carter. Although her bloodline is not suited to be your wife, it's fine for her to be your concubine. Did you forget about that? Katsuragi Akagi was so mad that he scolded Takaki with all his mind. Father, you don't understand. I have fallen in love, and my heart will always be for her. I haven't forgotten our initial goal. But polygamy is legal in this country. As long as I can make Tasha Carter head over heels with me, that would count as me having finished my purpose, Takaki said with a bit of a hateful tone. Katsuragi Akagi observed Takaki's expression. He contemplated a bit before he sighed. He said, "Fine. As long as you accomplish your mission, you can do whatever you like. Go back to your room." Katsuragi bowed to him, then left the room. The next day, Kai and Tasha went to school again. Kai sat on his previous desk and saw Ayaka, who was beside him, glaring at him. Although he didn't want to be bothered by her, he thought that he at least needed to apologize for yesterday. "I'm sorry about my sister's actions. It was very rude of us to disappear just like that after receiving something from your family." Kai sighed. He was a quiet guy, but this situation forced him to say something because his conscience didn't let him stay quiet when he was wrong. "All right. I'm truly sorry I didn't stop my sister. Friday, we should be getting a practical test where we need to hunt monsters in the training field. The test will require us to make a group of 2. So you're going to partner up with me," Ayaka said. She told him this because she wanted to prove something to him. She regretted that she couldn't do any better when they fought. She gritted her teeth as she recalled the scene over and over again. She kept telling herself, "I should be able to do better than that. I can make this move to dodge him, and I can do this, I can do that," and so on. So she wanted to pair up with him so she could show him she was better than that, no other purpose, especially not because of that curse. She just wanted to show her actual strength. After all, losing to a D-rank magician was a bit embarrassing for her, especially when she fought that bad. Kai looked at her, surprised. He was dumbfounded when he heard the condition. He thought about pairing up with George since he was the only one he knew, excluding Ayaka. He looked at her eyes and knew that he couldn't convince her. "All right." Kai gave up while sighing to his sister. Achieving her objective, she smiled smugly. She became a bit fired up inside, thinking, "Just you wait, I'll show you." Kai didn't care anymore as he tried to ignore everything around him while waiting for the class to start. Not long after, the teacher came to the classroom, but today was different, as the first sentences she said was, "All right, students, I don't know if you should rejoice for this or not, but I have gotten another student that I need to take care of. In other words, you all have gotten another classmate. He's another brat. I mean, a transfer student. Come in," the teacher said. The door opened, and a silver-haired guy came to the classroom. He wore the school uniform that seemed to complement his silver hair as well as his silver eyes. "Who is he? Is he the new student? So handsome, teach." The girls were charmed by his appearance, while, as everyone might have already guessed, the guys were the ones who clicked their tongues. Ayaka frowned when she saw this guy. She thought she might have met him, but she didn't remember him. The guy then wrote his name on the board, Katsuragi Takaki. He smiled and said, "Hello, I'm Katsuragi Takaki. Pleased to meet you all." Chapter 12. Magical Beast. The silver-haired transfer student introduced himself. "Hello, I'm Katsuragi Takaki. Pleased to meet you all." The innocent girls were charmed by either his look or his wealth. After all, if they were talking about the Katsuragi family, it was obviously the most powerful family in the north that controlled magic medicine. Ayaka was frowning this entire time. She felt like she had met him before, but she didn't remember this guy. She finally noticed that this guy's name was Katsuragi. She immediately remembered when her father said that she got engaged with Katsuragi whatsoever. Well, in the end, the engagement was broken. She became even more hostile to this guy. She remembered that she had gone to the Katsuragi family back when she was a kid. Her father was invited to their banquet, so she followed him back then. Because she was the only heiress of Kudo Group, the number of people she met was countless. She didn't remember this Katsuragi thing even a little bit. She tried recalling it, but no one came to her mind. You can sit wherever you want since we have so many empty seats. Yes. Thank you, teacher. Katsuragi Takaki thanked her. The girls wanted him to sit beside them, but all of them already had a seatmate. The only empty seats were with the guys. But this Katsuragi Takaki didn't go to the empty seats. Instead, he walked toward Kai's seat. Kai looked at him with a poker face. Katsuragi Takaki also looked at Kai in silence. Because of his silence, the girls misunderstood the situation. Wait, is this the legendary BL? Ah, these two men. Damn, my nose is bleeding, Kaya. Because of the declining population, they banned same-sex relationships because they wanted the males to help with repopulation. But all of their imagination shattered after they listened to what Katsuragi Takaki said. Hello, I'm Katsuragi Takaki. I'm a fan of your sister. Nice to meet you. Kai narrowed his eyes. Usually, no one would recognize his identity as the light of his sister eclipsed him completely. Even his sister's fans wouldn't know about him. Kai was surprised to see that someone recognized him. It was such a rare occasion that he couldn't help but feel something wrong about it. Kai Kata, nice to meet you. Kai decided to ignore his feelings at the moment and introduced himself. Alright, I don't care if you're a fan of his sister or not. Just sit down now, I still need to do my job. Ah, I'm sorry, teacher. I couldn't help but say my feelings after seeing the brother of my idol, Katsuragi Takaki said playfully. He then went to an empty seat. He didn't express his feelings to Ayaka because Kai might feel suspicious about it. His mission in this school was to get Tasha Kata to his bed, and for that to happen, he would need to make a connection with Kai sadly. They didn't research the bottom of their relationship. If he knew that Tasha was a brocon, what kind of face would he make? After all, Tasha's identity as a brocon was only known to a few close people, not to the public. Only people like their parents and her friends in the student council knew about it, including Ayaka, who just realized the hard truth yesterday. The class finally started after Katsuragi sat. We will continue yesterday's class about magical beasts. Because of the appearance of the magical beasts, our civilization was overturned. They killed the majority of the human race and forced us to band together and finally make 3 super bases in 3 countries: US, Europe, and this place, United Asia. Teacher, are there any humans left in the outside world? One of the students asked. Well, a good question. There are indeed various small groups outside. They stayed in places that are hard to reach for the magical beasts, such as mountains. We got their positions with the satellite, Shirotsuka Sanae replied. Then have we rescued them? We can't rescue them. Why, the answer is simple. It's not possible. Those places are surrounded by too many monsters. If we send our magicians just like that, it will be the same as sending them to their deaths. It might sound harsh, but that is the reality. But, as a part of the younger generation, you can't lose hope. You might be able to save them, but you need to know about the monsters first. Knowing the magical beast's characteristics will help you in battling those monsters that overturned our civilization. Do you know how magical beasts were created? They were exposed by magic energy and evolved. One of the students answered. Indeed, we humans also evolved because of magic energy. But have you ever thought of why we humans could use magic, but the magical beast couldn't? No students answered her because they didn't know they can. Suddenly, Katsuragi Takaki answered her. The students were surprised by it. Oh, even Sanae was a bit impressed. She narrowed her eyes and asked, could you elaborate your answer so your classmates can understand? Because we have the ability to think, said Takaki while pointing his index finger at his head. Magical beasts have the ability to use magic. But low-level magical beasts can't, because they only act based on their instincts. Takaki stopped talking. Sanae nodded her head. It is, as he said. Magical beasts indeed have the ability, but they can't. This concept is only applied to low-level magical beasts. If you meet high-level magical beasts, such as A-rank beasts or above, there is a possibility that they have unlocked their wisdom. They might even be able to talk in our languages and use elements. B and C rank magical beasts might be able to unlock their wisdom. But it is a rare case, so you might not see that in your entire life. This is a knowledge that you will only learn after you enter high school, aka Magical Academy. After all, you, as a student, might receive high prestige if you enrolled in a magical academy, but it also comes along with responsibilities. You will have a responsibility to fight in the front lines. I'm sure that you sign the contract before entering this academy. Every month, you will get a practical test where you will need to go to the outside world. I'll explain this in detail later, but I need you to know that with great power comes great responsibilities. Sanai continued her class. A few days later, the practical class finally arrived. Katsuragi Takaki tried to become Kai's friend this entire time while sneaking some glances at Ayaka. Of course, Ayaka ignored all of it since she didn't remember him. Even though Takaki was smiling when he was talking with Kai, he always clenched his fist inside his heart. Looking at Kai sitting beside Ayaka made him want to butcher him. Fortunately, Ayaka seemed not to be close to Kai, and the rumor about her and Kai together slowly disappeared. Not because the rumor was just a shock for them, but because they had considered these two as one thing. So, there was no need for another exaggerated reaction if something happened with them. In the class, Sanai was explaining about the practical class. The practical test's only purpose is to let you gain experience in fighting magical beasts. We'll hold the practical class in the gym. We've prepared numerous simulation tubes there. I'll explain how it works. We used to fight magical beasts in a group of 5. Scout, Vanguard, Support, and 2 attackers. But after countless discussions about it, we decided to only let the students make a group of 2. This is not a rash decision or a baseless assumption. I'll have you answer this question. Which team do you think will have better teamwork? A team consisting of ordinary people that emphasize teamwork, or a team where all of its members have great abilities but do their own thing? Raise your hand if you think the former is right. I'll assume that you choose the latter if you don't. When they heard Sanai's question, they were bewildered. They pondered for a while before raising their hands. The entire class raised their hand, including Ayaka and Takaki, all of them except one person, Kai. Ayaka was startled when she saw that Kai didn't raise his hand. She was wondering if Kai didn't hear her, or he was confused by the question. After all, the answer was obvious. A team that emphasized teamwork will have better teamwork than the other one, even if they had a better quality. Sanai frowned. She never expected to see that someone didn't raise their hand to this question. She asked this question every single year, but every single student raised their hand upon this question. If they didn't, their reason was that they didn't understand the question or were confused by it. After she explained a little bit more, they immediately raised their hand. She wondered if this Kai was the same. You are the only one who didn't raise your hand. Did my question confuse you? Should I elaborate? Actually, I have a question to this question before I can answer it. Oh. She was astonished as she didn't expect this. Tell me your question. What kind of teamwork are you seeking? Is it teamwork so that the team can survive in the outside world? The students were bewildered upon hearing his question. They didn't understand his question at all. Ayaka and Takaki immediately pondered over what he meant. On the other hand, Sanai was astonished to see that someone could perceive her true question. She didn't ask about teamwork in sports or whatsoever. In this damn world, who cares about sports? Yeah, you're right. This is about a team that's trying to survive in this damn world. So what's your answer? Chapter 13. Teen Kai pondered for a moment, forgetting about how he became the center of attention. Well, he himself didn't care about the attention anyway. He never sought it, but he also never avoided it. He just did his own thing, and if he received exposure because of it, it wasn't a big deal at all for him. My answer is still the same. Why do you choose that answer? Care to tell me about it? If I need to choose between those two teams, then I'll choose the latter. As for the reason, I'll explain it from my point of view. Positioning myself as a member of those teams, I'll start with a team that emphasizes teamwork. It's good to emphasize teamwork, but without a good foundation, teamwork will never work. Teacher said that they're average, not good and not bad. Then, at some point, they'll miss something that can threaten the whole team's survival. It can be the scout that misses a magical beast, a vanguard that fails to block an attack, a support that doesn't come with the right timing or not enough. Damage dealt to the magical beast. Different from that team, the second team has high abilities. Even if they don't emphasize teamwork, They know what they're doing. A scout that can spot everything. A vanguard that can protect their teammates. A support that comes with perfect timing, and a high-power attacker. Even though they don't emphasize teamwork, as long as they do their own thing perfectly, I feel that the second team has better teamwork than the first one, Kai explained. The whole class was astonished. They never thought that far. They only focused on the question but didn't see the true meaning. Even Sonaye was impressed by his train of thoughts. So is teamwork a bad thing to you? Sonaye tried to show a hard front. Kai shook his head. No, I never said teamwork is a bad thing. Teamwork is good. I only want to say that you can't ignore the fundamental skills. It might also be the reason why teacher asked this question when we're talking about the practical class. You brat. She realized that Kai figured out her intention. So she cursed inside her heart. Of course, her face didn't show any change of expressions. She just nodded her head and explained, "That's right. This is the reason why the school wants you to make a group of 2 in the practical class. Ignoring the fundamental skills just won't cut it. In this kind of environment, you'll practice various fundamental skills from being a scout to being an attacker. If you manage to train your fundamental skills and your teamwork, I'm sure you'll be a good team. Take a scout role as an example. If you learned how to be a scout, even if you're not the scout in the team, when the scout says, 'This area is clear,' you might be able to ask, 'Did this happen, or is there any sign of a magical beast's trace?' If the scout can answer, then that's good. Having more detailed information will increase your chance of survival. That's why, in this practical class, you're going to pair up with someone, so you can learn multiple fundamental skills. If you have any questions, you can ask me later. I'll give you 5 minutes to choose your partner." Sanai walked outside after she explained. The students took a while to realize what was going on. Most of the students immediately rose from their seats, especially the female students. They went either to Katsuragi Takaki or Kai Kata. They chose Katsuragi Takaki because he was handsome and was a famous A-rank magician. As for Kai, they chose him because he was the younger brother of Tasha Kata. At the same time, his explanation earlier was splendid. Teaming up with him should be a good choice. He would at least know what to do. But the atmosphere suddenly turned to the worst when Katsuragi Takaki stood up and walked toward Kai. "Will you pair up with me?" Takaki asked Kai number. Kai's answer was obvious, but that rejection wasn't because he didn't want to. He just needed to fulfill his promise to Ayaka. After all, he had promised that he would pair up with her for this class a few days ago. Such a shame. It looks like I need to ask another person. Of course, he hated to pair up with Kai, but he needed to fulfill the basic formality, as he was currently known as Tasha's fan. His objective was Ayaka. After Kai rejected him without any explanation, he misunderstood the situation. He walked toward Ayaka and asked her, "Ayaka, please pair up with me." "No. I've paired up with him," Ayaka said uninterestedly while pointing at Kai. "Why are you pairing up with him? I'm your fiancé." He blurted it out of anger. He was already uncomfortable when he couldn't sit beside her. To an obsessive person like him, it was unbearable. Thankfully, Kai and Ayaka didn't interact that much. If not, he might not be able to hold himself back. But after hearing this, he couldn't hold back his anger. Ayaka showed a disgusted expression. After that day, when Takaki presented himself as a transfer student, she asked her father for confirmation. And it turned out, he was really the fiancé her father talked about. Fortunately, her father seemed to have broken the engagement. She was relieved after she heard that. She later found out that she had met this Takaki guy back then, but she didn't have any impression on him. Back then, she greeted him without hidden intention because she didn't care about that. With her family condition, she didn't need to. Her wish ever since she was a child had always been to help her parents. So thinking about sucking up to Takaki never came to her mind. She was relieved that this Takaki guy seemed to be normal. But a few days later, she finally realized that this Takaki often took a sneak peek at her. The same as him, Ayaka was also often sought after by countless young heirs or heiresses. She felt that Takaki often took a sneak peek at her face, breast, and thighs with lustful eyes. Of course, Takaki tried to hide it. A normal girl wouldn't notice it, but Ayaka could, as she often dealt with these kinds of people. She shuddered. She was wondering what her father saw in this guy. At least, Kai was better. When she heard the word fiancés out of his mouth, she immediately felt disgusted. We are not engaged. I never agreed to it, and my father has also cancelled that agreement. All of them were astounded when they heard their conversation, fiancé, agreement cancelled, breaking an engagement. So many doubts suddenly came to their minds, but they didn't speak those doubts aloud. Takaki also realized that he blurted that word out of anger. And I already asked him to pair up with me, Ayaka said while pointing at Kai. She didn't forget to add, a few days ago, after knowing this, Takaki couldn't hold himself back. He said while pointing his finger at Kai, I will challenge you with the score. Do you dare? Kai was perplexed. He didn't know why the situation became like this. A minute ago, Takaki was just his sister's fan, but now he was challenging him. Before he could answer, Ayaka had responded on his behalf as a teammate. She said, Fine, our team will score more points than your team. Katsuragi Takaki snorted and left. Kai only sighed and shrugged his shoulder. A few minutes later, Shiratsuka Sanae came back to the class. I don't know what kind of ruckus all of you made to talk about the scores. You might already know what kind of class we'll have, but I'll still explain it to you. First, in the gym, there are a few training tubes. Each pair will enter a tube together. You'll be teleported to a world that has been programmed by our engineers. Don't ask me how the machines work, I don't know. Anyway, it's only your consciousness that'll go into that world. We have detailed data from various monsters, so we can replicate them inside that world. Your team will strive to survive and kill as many monsters as possible. Don't worry, if you're killed in that world, you won't die in this world. Do you have any questions? Teacher, how many monsters at maximum can we encounter inside the practice tube? One of the students asked. She was Wada Miyako. She had pink hair, as well as a body that didn't lose to Ayaka. She became Takaki's partner in this practical class, as she was one of the B-rank magicians in this class. It seemed that she asked the question on behalf of Takaki, who was eager to beat the Ayaka-Kai pair. Sadly, the teacher said something they never expected. Something I know. Every student was speechless. They cursed in their minds. You should at least say that you'll look it up if you don't know. What could they say? This teacher was unique. Anyway, since you don't have a question, follow me to the gym. Oh, I almost forgot. You can't surrender or anything of the sort to get out of the tube. Just like the real world, you will need to fight until your last breath. In other words, if you want to get out of the tube, you'll need to die. Of course, it is not like we want to send you to die. Experiencing dying a few times might develop your mentality. People tend to lose their rationality in a matter between life and death. We're training you to get used to it so you won't lose your rationality if you experience it in the outside world, the teacher said and left the room, telling the students to follow her. She led them to the gym. In the gym, one of the practice tubes was opened. There was a screen above the tube. S0A, 11B, 31C, 100D, 211E, 232F, 3001, a pair of a man and a woman came out. The man had green hair and a handsome face. He wore a tight black battlesuit exposing his muscles. The other person was a purple-haired woman. She also wore the same black battlesuit, exposing her seducing body, as expected of the famous couple team, Adrian and Kirika. We're honored for you two to test our new simulation world. How is our new simulation world? The one who greeted them was a muscular middle-aged man. He had spiky brown hair and seemed to be your typical muscle brain guy. That's right. He was the principal of this school, the guy said. It's really hard, but it's more realistic. If you can tone down the level a bit, it might be useful for the students. Chapter 14. Practical Class. Alright, students, these are the training tubes, and each group will have one. You can choose whichever you want. Shirotsuka Sanae explained after arriving at the gym. She let them see the training tubes as the tubes were lined up. She then pointed at the screen above each training tube. This screen will project how many magical beasts you kill inside the tubes. Like I said, your consciousness will go inside the programmed world, so you better be ready to fight as soon as you got inside. She then went to the mechanical table on the side and put her card there. At the same time, the training tubes were turned on. You can choose your tubes now. But all of you should have a chat with your partner first before entering the tube. I'll record all of your scores later. Each pair immediately went to a tube of their own choice. Ayaka and Kai also had chosen their tube. It was only Ayaka who chose the tube. She wanted the one in the middle. Before they entered the cube, Ayaka turned to Kai. When we fought, I wasn't fighting to the best of all my abilities. Do you hear me? I'll prove it to you in this test. We'll compete on how many magical beasts we can kill. Kai looked at her and shook his head. I don't think we should do that. Why? Are you saying that I'm weak? I'm not weak. I'll show you this time. Ayaka got a bit agitated. But Kai's expression remained calm. He only shook his head. No. If it is about our fight back then, I already know that you're not that weak. I already know you didn't perform your best. Ayaka was surprised to hear that Kai continued. In fact, I was the one who made you underestimate me. Ayaka startled. She asked, What do you mean? In a battle, what do you think is more important? Showing your full power or winning the battle? Ayaka pondered for a moment and replied, Winning is more important. That's right. I just chose to increase my winning chance before the match started by acting like I wasn't interested in it. Well, another factor was because you had seen my magician rank back then. Since you knew I was only a D-rank magician, you must have thought that you'd win, right? Ayaka looked down, weighing Kai's word in her mind. She nodded. But you didn't have any chivalry. Sooner or later, we'll be fighting the magical beasts. Even now, we're going to fight magical beasts in a few minutes. Just like my question, winning is more important. In other words, if we're fighting with magical beasts, killing them will be more important than showing all of your ability just to make you feel good. Ugh, Ayaka couldn't retort him. We're going to fight magical beasts now. So, if you're only thinking about competing with me, I think we should just give up. Kai's statement startled her once again. She never thought Kai could talk about giving up that easily. Most didn't know about him because he was overshadowed by his sister. Does he not want to make himself known? She thought. But there was another problem. She already accepted Katsuragi Takaki's challenge. He shouldn't give up, or people would think that he was running away. Although she only knew Kai for a week, she realized that she could learn a lot of things from Kai. But if he gave up now, she shook her head and grabbed Kai's hand without thinking. No, we can't. I'm sorry, I was too self-centered before. When Takaki saw this, he gnashed his teeth while clenching his fist. He really wanted to murder him. But thinking about his previous blunder, he should try to make up with him so he could also get closer to his target, Tasha Carter. If he won this time, he would be able to show his power to Ayaka while humiliating Kai. Then he could become a good guy and protect Kai if he were to be laughed at by his classmates. He could get closer to Kai and eventually get closer to his target. In his heart, he already firmly decided to win this. He looked at Wada Miyako, who was his partner in this class. Let's go. She didn't know anything and just followed him. On the other hand, Kai looked at Ayaka. Alright, so let's talk about our plan. Ayaka nodded. She pondered for a moment. You have enhanced hearing, right? Do you want to use my hearing to scout the surroundings? Ayaka nodded. I'm sorry we have to use your hearing like this. It's alright. I always take off my headphones when battling. Kai shrugged his shoulders. We're going to search for a safe place first so we can make it our base. Then we'll start killing the magical beasts, Ayaka said. In reality, Ayaka was a smart girl who could think of something like that. But because she lost to Kai, she became too focused on him. She couldn't bring out her true potential. After Kai changed her focus, she finally utilized her real ability. I heard the magical beasts live in a group. We can kill the small group instead of the bigger one, Ayaka said. Kai nodded. This practical class is about how many we can kill. It'll be better to fight a small group rather than a big group. After all, fighting 2 groups consisting of 10 magical beasts is better than taking a group of 20 magical beasts, considering that there are only 2 of us. If we can kill the group in one swoop, then it'll be another case. Ayaka nodded in agreement. After seriously talking to Kai like this, she didn't seem to feel hateful anymore. To be honest, Kai seemed to have a deep knowledge of this. She felt that by talking to him, she would always get an answer. They were so focused on their conversation that they didn't realize that they were the last pair that hadn't entered the training tube. All right, that's good enough. Let's go, Kai said. Kai took off his noise-canceling headphones. Ayaka nodded and opened the tube. The tube was only 2 meters wide. There was only a single screen inside. They were supposed to place their hands together on the screen. The tube would be activated and send their consciousness to the programmed world. They looked at each other and nodded. They finally placed their hands on the screen and channeled their magic power. Two magic circles appeared, one on the floor and the other on the top. They saw a flash of light in front of their eyes, forcing them to close their eyes for a bit. When the light disappeared, they opened their eyes. They looked at their surroundings. They could only find woods from their surroundings, and if they looked above, they could see a huge volcano. They realized that they were teleported to a jungle on the foot of a volcano. Kai immediately focused on his hearing. His hearing could pick up numerous magical beasts in their surroundings, from small and weak magical beasts to large and powerful magical beasts. Kai's heart skipped a beat when he felt that, in fact, they were surrounded by magical beasts. Although the magical beasts had yet to realize their presence, if they wanted to get to a safe place, they would need to break through them. After a few more seconds, he finally found a place that was not surrounded by magical beasts. He didn't know whether that place was safe or not, but it was the only place besides the volcano that didn't have a magical beast around it. They could only go there to confirm it. Kai said in a disappointed tone, "Good news, I found a place that tough, not surrounded by magical beasts." "Why do you sound rather disappointed?" "Do we have bad news?" Kai nodded. "We're surrounded by magical beasts. So if we want to go to that place, we need to break through from this place. We might need to fight around 70 magical beasts before we reach the place." Ayaka was dumbfounded. "You're joking, right? Do you think I'm the type of person that would joke in this situation?" Ayaka couldn't answer it as the answer was obvious. She gulped down. Ayaka said while looking at him, "All right, let's get going then." "It's better than staying in this spot," Kai agreed with her. "I'll try to guide us carefully. It is not good to fight too much before we get settled in a base." Teacher also said that it'll be good if we can take advantage of the terrain to fight the magical beasts. "Sure, let's go." Kai and Ayaka then started moving. After a minute of walking, they finally encountered their first magical beast. It was a gorilla. It was 3 meters tall and was powerfully built with a large head and short neck. "We're going to approach it silently. From the looks of it, it's a D-rank magical beast. Can you kill it instantly?" Kai asked. "I can." Ayaka nodded. "Well then, I'll support you," Kai said. Unbeknownst to them, there was a problem outside their tube. The principal suddenly came back to the gym. Because the matter of the tube was too important, he forgot that one of the classes was going to use the machine. Not good. "One of the classes is having a practical class." Principal Kazato. "What do you mean?" the man, Adrian, asked. He was the one who participated in the test just now. "The students are using the training tubes in the gym, and I haven't changed it back to the world for the students in the tube you two used." "What?" Adrian and Kirika were shocked. "This is bad. I need to go back. I hope no one uses it since there are so many tubes." "We're coming with you." Chapter 15, Magic. "We're coming with you," the principal nodded, and all of them ran toward the gym. As soon as they arrived, they immediately searched for that particular tube and saw that it was in use. "Principal Kazato, we need to let them out of that world. The purpose of this practical class is to let the students slowly gain experience and get used to the outside world. But if they entered that world, I'm afraid they'll get traumatized." Kazato Kenzo felt weak on his legs. He was suddenly covered in sweat. "It's impossible. As you might already know, we can't let them out before they die in that world." This tube is also the same. Adrian and Kirika were dumbfounded. They knew why the tubes had that function. It was to train the students' mentality. If they knew that they could just leave that place before they died, then they would get shocked when they had to battle in the outside world, where they couldn't do that. "Dama!" Adrian and Kirika shouted. Shiratsuka-sanai obviously heard that as she was supervising the class. She was a bit surprised to see the principal come to this place, so she came to him. "Can I help you, principal?" Who's using the training tube in the middle?" Sanai tried to remember for a while. "If I'm not mistaken, it should be Kudo Ayaka and Kai Kata." Kudo. Kata. All of them were shocked. They never expected to hear that name. They knew about the Kudo group, as it was the #1 weapon provider in United Asia. But Kata's name was also like thunder reverberating in their ears. That name became famous because of one particular individual, Tasha Kata. Unfortunately, at a time like this, it would only make it worse. The Kudo group was a huge group, And if their only heiress was traumatized because of this, they couldn't imagine what kind of thing they would do. The same went for Kai Carter. They considered Tasha Carter as someone with the same level of threat as Kudo Group, but it would be different if she became far stronger. What happened? Principal, why are you sweating? Shirotsuka Sanai was clueless. You should know about our new programmed world, right? Yeah, the one that reflects the outside world perfectly. I haven't changed the setting back on that tube. Surprise came to Sanai's poker face. What should we do, Principal? Adrian said. Should we tell their families first? I think they should come to this place. Kazato pondered for a while, then shook his head. Let's keep this secret for the time being. If they're fine after this, then I'll call them and formally apologize. But if they're not fine by then, I'll bear the full responsibility. Are you sure, Principal? Yeah, I just hope these two will turn out fine. Inside the tube, Kai and Ayaka started approaching their first prey. They approached it carefully so it wouldn't notice them. I can make a sound insulation room with my magic. Sound won't escape that room. Charge as soon as I use that magic. Ayaka nodded to him as her spear came out of her ring on her right index finger. Kai checked their position once again. After confirming they weren't surrounded, a magic circle appeared on his hand. Sound insulation room. They were only 10 meters from the gorilla. Kai made a sound insulation room with the gorilla as the center. The sound insulation room was a 4x4x4 meter translucent yellow cube. As soon as the room appeared, the gorilla immediately felt something wrong. At the same time, Ayaka rushed toward the gorilla with her spear. Ha! She thrust her spear toward the gorilla's neck. Because of its instinct, it immediately dodged the spear by an inch and tried to throw a fist on Ayaka. Ayaka was surprised to see that the gorilla managed to dodge her attack, but she didn't stop there. She immediately used her magic, burn to cinders, flares. The magic circle suddenly shot out a few flaming whips. It pierced the gorilla's hands and feet. Roar! The gorilla screamed in pain. If Kai didn't use his sound insulation room, countless magical beasts might come to this place. Ayaka used the opening to pierce the gorilla's neck with her spear. She finally killed the gorilla this time. After confirming the gorilla's death, Kai released his sound insulation room and walked to Ayaka. I'm sorry I couldn't kill it in one hit. If you hadn't used your sound insulation room, I'm afraid that roar might have attracted the nearby magical beasts. She apologized to Kai. She knew the effect of Kai's sound insulation room. When she entered the sound insulation room, she couldn't hear a single thing from the outside. That meant the barrier separated the two worlds. Kai shouldn't be able to hear the gorilla's roar too. It's fine. We'll continue to fight this way. Since this is our first time fighting together, things like this are bound to happen. We can slowly adapt to each other's fighting styles first. I'll continue as your support. All right, Ayaka nodded seriously. Seeing how she became a bit tense, Kai chose to tease her a little bit to loosen her shoulders. Surely it's because of bad luck that we have a rank D magical beast as our first prey. The bad luck is yours, right? Ayaka was dumbfounded. She chuckled. It's obviously my good luck. We must be ahead of the others. Kai smiled a little bit. Ayaka was startled when she saw Kai smile for the first time. What is it? You're not tense anymore. You can't think carefully when you're tense. She froze. She chuckled. I'm good at working under pressure. Kai then led her to another magical beast. This time, it was an E-rank huge lizard. As it was a 3-meter-long lizard, Kai used his sound insulation room again, while Ayaka charged to the lizard. This time, the lizard was pretty fast. It managed to dodge a few thrusts from Ayaka until finally she roasted the lizard with her flames. They arrived at their destination after 2 hours. They had killed around 60 magical beasts before they reached this place. According to Kai, the magical beasts had moved quite a lot from their original positions. It gave them an easier time to bypass them when they reached their destination. It was a good plan. They even found a cave there. It would be nice to use the cave as their base. So what should we do now? Well, I sense 2 groups that we can attack right now. The first group has 10 magical beasts in it. I don't know what they are, but they surely walk on 4 feet. The other one also has 10 magical beasts, but they walk on 2 feet. Take your pick. Kai gave her the options. Which one is the closest one from us? Ayaka asked. The second one. Then we going there. Since we don't know what kind of creatures we're going to face, it's better to kill the closest ones, under the premise that we won't be surrounded by magical beasts when we fight them. Ayaka said her reasoning. Suddenly, she asked, I'm curious, what kind of things can your ears pick up? Not that much. I can only locate them from the sounds they make. Sadly, I don't know what they are. By the way, since we're going to fight a group of monsters, what kind of magic can you use? I think we can make a better plan if we know about them, Kai said. You've seen 3 of them. The first one is those firebirds. The second one is the firewings, and the third one is the flares. I have 3 more skills that I usually use. There's Scarlet Explosion, Fire Net, and Fire Armor. Their uses are just like what their names imply. Scarlet Explosion is an explosion. Fire Net is a net made of fire, and I can make a full-body armor from fire. Still, this one needs a massive amount of magic power, so I don't use it very often. I can also do some neutral magic, like the shield you used in our fight. That's all, I guess, Kai pondered a little. Maybe you should have a skill to enhance your movement. You can use it on your feet to give you speed, or use it on your hands or weapon to give it more power. You can come up with your own version, or learn from a record. Well, this is only a suggestion, it's entirely up to you. If it were before, she might have been triggered by this, but after knowing Kai more, she didn't have that thought. She took Kai's suggestion seriously. It's a good suggestion. I'll try it in the future. How about you? What skills can you use? Sound Insulation Room, and the one I used to defeat you back then, Lullaby, Kai said while looking at Ayaka carefully. He was afraid that Ayaka might be triggered by his words. Luckily, she wasn't. What else? Ayaka asked. The third one is a magic that can alter brainwaves, Kai said. A magic that can alter brainwaves. Ayaka was bewildered. Kai nodded. Do you like music? Of course, I do. Then have you recognized how different music can give you different effects? Like when you're listening to a workout song or music, it makes you exercise harder. Yes, indeed. Ayaka nodded her head before realizing what Kai meant. She said with a surprised look, Do you mean Chapter 16? Another problem. AN. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. I researched some melodies that work best for magical beasts and humans. Both magical beasts and humans have 4 categories of brainwaves: alpha, beta, delta, and theta. I won't explain everything to you since it's not related to this. I'll try to explain this as simply as I can since it'll be useful for you to know so we can make a better plan. Beta brainwave dominate our usual state. Aroused, alert, concentrated, but also somewhat stressed. Alpha is when we're in a relaxed and focused state. It's the ideal state to learn new information, analyze complex situations, and more. As for theta, you'll have a dream when you sleep, while in delta state, you won't have a dream. This is a bit complicated to explain, but don't expect for this trick to work if the magical beast knows that the sound came from me. Since they move following their instincts, I can only use this skill to lower their guards, nothing more, Kai explained. There are 2 other skills that I can use. I have an improved neutral magic shield, and the other one I don't think I should tell you about this since I won't use it unless I'm forced to. Just a heads up. Even I won't escape unscathed if I use it. Ayaka looked at him dumbfounded. She unconsciously dropped her jaw, and her eyes were hollow. Kai looked at her shocked look. He tried to wave his hand in front of her eyes, but to no avail. He then patted her shoulder a few times until she woke up from her daze. I just realized that I haven't put enough effort this entire time. Ashamed, Ayaka said while looking down. She remembered what her grandfather said. Kai was an unorthodox magician. All of her skills came from the records where she could quickly learn it. She just followed the instructions and eventually mastered the skills. But Kai didn't have such a thing. Kai researched everything by himself, experimenting and perfecting them through trials and errors. She finally realized why Kai could trounce her. She shook her head furiously. She couldn't feel down at the moment, because they would fight magical beasts after this. Kai only explained his skills a little, as he only told their uses, not their principles. Another reason why he told her his skills was because, according to Tasha, this pairing thing would be valid for their entire year. It would be a hassle if they didn't know about at least their partner's basic knowledge. He didn't know whether Ayaka knew about this pairing rule, since she suddenly asked him to be his pair. Well, He didn't really mind it either. He knew Ayaka was smart and strong. He didn't have a big goal like becoming the strongest or killing S-rank magical beasts. He only wanted to survive in this chaotic world. Having a partner like her would increase his chance of survival. He was not a hero or a good person. He was just a logical person, or at least someone trying to become one. So, I assume your sound insulation room is for fighting a single magical beast only, while your, what's the name for the one that affects brainwaves, melody resonance? She nodded. Your melody resonance is for a group fight, to lower their guards or something. You're basically right, Kai nodded his head. All right. Since that's the case, how about using your melody resonance to lower the monster's guard? We can then ambush them together. I'm fine with that, Kai agreed with her plan. Then we should go now, Ayaka said. Both of them then started moving toward the group of 10 magical beasts. When they arrived, it was a group of 10 bulls. The rank of these black-colored bulls was E. Considering Ayaka's and Kai's skills, they weren't that dangerous. They hid behind a tree around 5 meters from the bulls. Kai then started using his melody resonance. He was planning to make the bulls sleepy. It might be hard to make the bulls sleep, so Kai's objective was to lower their guards down, at least enough for them to make a surprise attack, melody resonance. A magic circle appeared beneath his feet. The magic circle suddenly produced a deep and soothing tone. The sound traveled through the air and reached the magical beast's ears. They didn't realize that they were being affected by Kai's magic. The bulls, who were previously energetic, stopped moving after a minute. It wasn't that they were sleeping. It was just that they were just sleepy enough not to want to move their body. Although Ayaka knew it was due to Kai, she was still affected by it. She pinched her hand to stay focused. Kai looked at her and nodded. She nodded back, and both of them immediately jumped toward the bulls. Burned to cinders, flares, a few firewhips immediately killed 3 sleepy bulls. Kai didn't have such superior firepower, which was another reason why he used 2 swords. It was so he could increase the little firepower he had. Kai beheaded 2 bulls. The bulls suddenly woke up from their entranced state. Moo! With that wake-up call, the other 4 bulls also woke up. Kai immediately killed another 2 bulls, while Ayaka killed 1 with her spear. The last 2 bulls were immediately enraged and charged at them. Kai only dodged to the side to avoid the bull's charge and sent its head flying with his sword. At the same time, Ayaka jumped upward and stabbed the bull's back with her long spear, thus killing it. Fortunately, they were able to finish them in an instant. Ayaka's plan proved to be effective. We did it, Ayaka said with a smile. To think about the plan yourself, to tell it to your friend, and to execute it perfectly, and to get good results. Such a thing would always make people happy. It was what Ayaka felt. Kai only nodded his head with a smile. We're going to the next group, Ayaka said while pumping her fist. They went to the other group in Kai's options. It was a group of blue lizards. Surprisingly, these lizards were able to walk on 2 feet. These lizards were a bit skinny, considering they were magical beasts. They used the same strategy. But because they weren't close enough, Ayaka's flares only managed to kill 2. So, with the first wave of attack, they only managed to kill 4 lizards. Both Kai and Ayaka engaged with 3 lizards each. Because the lizards managed to escape from that state instantly, Kai and Ayaka struggled a bit to kill these lizards. After around 2 minutes, they finally managed to kill all of them. Do you find any good targets? Ayaka asked. Well, there's another group, but this one seems pretty hard since it's a group of 30. This area seems to be quite difficult, since most of the magical beasts are in groups. All right. We should do what we can, so we're going to kill them for now. We can search for another later, Ayaka said. Kai nodded. Kai led her to the target's location. It turned out to be a group of wolves. Kai's sweat dropped. He murmured, "It is going to be a bit troublesome." Hearing his murmur, Ayaka asked, "Should we change our target?" Kai wanted to nod his head, but suddenly, a loud howl echoed through the forest. Oh! Kai and Ayaka immediately looked at the wolves. It turned out that they were spotted by one of the wolves. Not good. Both of them said at the same time. The wolves immediately ran toward them. Move around while killing the wolves one by one, Kai instructed. Understood. Ayaka nodded her head, and both of them immediately started running away. Of course, the wolves immediately caught up with them. Burned to cinders, flares. Ayaka tried to attack the wolves with her flares, but because of the wolves' agility, all of them managed to avoid her magic. Ayaka, you can fly, right? Yes. Then follow me, Kai said. Got it. They suddenly headed to the left of their base. Kai wanted to lead them toward a 15-meter cliff. On the way, Ayaka thought about killing all of them with her firepower. However, Kai told her not to do that since it would attract the nearby magical beast's attention. If they didn't want to attract other monsters, they could only parry every attack from the wolves while making their way toward the cliff. Kai could hear more than 100 monsters nearby. This was the exact reason why he forbade Ayaka from using her full power. It would attract them. After 2 minutes of continuous running, they finally arrived in front of a tall cliff. There's only a cliff here, Ayaka shouted to Kai. Up there. We're now pretty far from the monsters. You can blow these wolves away from up there, Kai shouted. Oh, so that's what you were planning. Grab my hand, Ayaka said while stretching her hand. Normally, she would be embarrassed, but she forgot about it. At the moment, Kai immediately grabbed her hand. At the same time, a magic circle appeared on her back, which soon turned into a pair of wings. They immediately flew toward the cliff. She released Kai's hand after they reached the top of the cliff. The wolves also climbed the steep rocky cliff skillfully. Looking at this, Ayaka used another magic, Scarlet Explosion. The magic circle shot out a small fireball toward the center of the wolf pack. The small ball exploded and released massive heat. It killed most of the wolves from the pack. But the 3 wolves in the front managed to escape the explosion and reach the top. They jumped forward, trying to bite Ayaka with their sharp fangs. Kai immediately went in front of her and made a shield to block the wolves' charge. Ow! Their charge was immediately stopped by his shield, and he immediately moved to the left while swinging his sword. Ayaka smiled and used her magic, Burn to Cinders, flares. Because of their previous move, the wolves were incapable of changing their direction. With their current position, it was absolute for Ayaka to kill 2 of them. Kai already predicted that and swung his sword to the 3rd one. Finally, they killed all of them except for the pack's leader. Ayaka and Kai jumped from the cliff and fought with the leader. After a minute, even a C-rank wolf would die from the continuous attacks from Kai and Ayaka. The wolf leader let out its last howl before it fell to the ground and died. We sucks, Ayaka wanted to say, but before she managed to say it, Kai pushed her to the side. Roar! A white ape suddenly jumped off from the cliff, trying to attack Ayaka with its fist. Kai pushed her, and he became the target of the fist. Not good. Sign, Siled Sighing was Howl. Chapter 17, Another Surprise, AN. Telling you again. Correct me if I made mistakes about the concept. But don't forget that this is only a fantasy story. Not good. Kai crossed his hand while making a green magic circle. Kai used his improved barrier to block this fist. The magic circle suddenly made a weird sound that Ayaka couldn't decipher, but it was called an improved barriers, not because of the sound. It was because of the energy produced by the sound. Kai used the concept of oscillation to improve his barrier. He took the concept of a speaker. A speaker makes a sound by moving the front of the speaker, which is called the diaphragm, back and forth rapidly. It's usually not very noticeable, but if you put a piece of paper on the speaker, it will dance around. Oscillation is the back and forth motion of an object. The oscillation of the diaphragm will also cause the air in front of the diaphragm to move back and forth. But the air particles in front of the diaphragm don't actually travel away. It just oscillates back and forth. The oscillating air in front of the speaker will cause the air in front of it to also oscillate. It will then cause the air in front of it to also oscillate, and this process will repeat again and again until people perceive the sound. The oscillating air beside people's ears moves, so it has kinetic energy. It can transfer the energy into eardrums, which people later perceive as a sound, so the speaker can transport the energy through the air without actually having to transport the air itself. Kai took this concept for his improved shield. The oscillating air in front of his shield was moving, so it had energy. Kai then used that energy to soften the impact of the attack. The concept might be a little weak, as it would be ridiculous to use it to block a strong attack like this, but Kai used a high frequency, high enough that humans couldn't hear it. After all, a human could only hear frequencies as low as about 20 Hz and as high as about 20 Hz. He used a very high frequency, so the energy produced by it was bigger, and this magic circle made the air oscillate back and forth much higher than 20,000 per second. It created sound waves, but humans like Ayako wouldn't be able to hear it. It was only possible for Kai because he had his enhanced hearing. Kai used this high-frequency sound to send tremendous energy to soften the impact of the attack. Boom! Kai was pinned down to the ground by the fist. But surprisingly, his magic shield was still intact. This was the concept that let him block such a powerful attack. Ayaka finally realized what just happened. From the aura alone, she could tell that this white ape was a high-ranking magical beast. This ape was possibly a B-rank magical beast, if not A rank. She immediately rose from the ground and charged at the ape with her spear. Get off of him! The ape turned its head toward her and opened its mouth. Kai and Ayaka could see blue light appear in the ape's mouth. They immediately remembered what Shirotsuka Sanaye said in class. High-ranking magical beasts, like A-rank magical beasts or above, might be able to use magic. They immediately recognized that this ape was an A-rank magical beast. It wanted to shoot something out of his mouth toward Ayaka. But because Ayaka rushed toward this ape to save Kai, she couldn't avoid this attack. She thought she was going to die by this attack, as she didn't have enough time to dodge or to block this attack. But Kai suddenly grabbed the ape's fist and pulled the ape to his side a little. Boom! The ape shot out a ray of light from its mouth. But because Kai pulled the ape, its trajectory was changed. It missed Ayaka completely and landed on a nearby tree. It created a massive explosion, not losing to Ayaka's explosion skill. The ape turned to Kai once again and slapped him away with its giant hand. Boom! Kai! Ayaka unconsciously shouted his given name, even though she had been calling him with his full name. Kai crashed onto a nearby tree. His body was hurt all over, but he gritted his teeth and shouted, "I'm fine. Do you not remember our match? Cool your head." Ayaka shuddered when she heard that. That shout from him immediately woke her up from her anger. She was angry at herself. Because of her carelessness, Kai had to save her and was brutally punched by the powerful ape. She tried to save him back, but it almost cost her life. Kai then saved her again, resulting in him being slapped away by the ape. But even after so many beatings, Kai shouted at her to wake her up. The moment she woke up, she was filled with regret. Sadly, she couldn't do anything except beat this ape with her full power. She didn't act with her anger again, as she had regained her cool. She took a deep breath before charging toward the ape once again. The ape tried to charge its previous attack again in his mouth. When the ape shot it toward Ayaka, she dodged to the side and used her magic. Burned to cinders, flares, boom! The fire hit the ape and exploded. Roar! The ape screamed in pain. There was a batch of scorched fur visible on the ape. The ape immediately entered close combat against Ayaka, but with its high strength and agility, the inexperienced Ayaka immediately got suppressed. On the side, Kai finally crawled out of the tree he crashed into. He saw that the ape was engaging Ayaka with close combat, and judging on their conditions, the ape had the upper hand. Kai took a deep breath as his back was still in tremendous pain. He gritted his teeth as he started running toward the white ape. When Ayaka saw him running toward them, she smiled. Kai was still fine, but in that moment of joy, the ape got a chance. Gah! Ayaka suddenly got punched on her stomach and spat some blood. She was blown away by that punch and rolled on the ground before finally crashing into a tree. At the same time, Kai already reached the ape. He immediately swung his two swords at the ape while sliding between its 2 feet. With that slash, Kai immediately separated the ape's 2 feet from the ape's body. He stood up again and grabbed the ape's hand. He suddenly threw the ape's giant body toward Ayaka because he could hear that Ayaka was still moving. He trusted her at this moment. Ayaka, fire net. Ayaka, who was bleeding all over, gritted her teeth while enduring the pain she was feeling at that moment. She raised her hand to use her skill. As soon as the red magic circle appeared on her hand, a large net-shaped fire appeared, catching the flying ape. Fire net. At this moment, she also trusted Kai. She used her fire net, forgetting why Kai was able to throw this giant ape away. It was a single-layer fire net that stretched out vertically, but as soon as the fire net caught the ape, the sound of scorching fire filled the entire field. Ayaka poured all of her magic to roast this ape. Of course, Kai also didn't let her kill this ape alone. He immediately jumped forward and slashed both of the ape's hands, rendering the ape useless. With the ape having lost all of its limbs, Kai used that moment to pierce his sword into its heart. Raw. The ape let out its last scream before it finally died. Ayaka then released her fire net and let the ape fall to the ground. Kai let out a breath of relief. He walked toward Ayaka and helped her up. He stretched his hand to her. "Are you okay?" he asked while looking at Ayaka's state. Ayaka took the full brunt of the ape, so her injuries were more severe than his, but she was still acting strong. She tried her best to make a smile and said, "Of course I'm fine." She took Kai's hand, and Kai pulled her up. Ayaka couldn't regain her balance, so she almost fell, but Kai grabbed her and helped her stand. She looked at the lifeless ape a few meters in front of her and turned to Kai. "We really killed the ape, right? The A-rank white ape." "Yes." Kai smiled at her and nodded. "Hi, we did it." "Yes, you're right." Kai nodded again. Ayaka then tried to stand by herself. She wiped the blood on her mouth and asked, "How can that shield skill block that punch? If I'm not mistaken, it should also contain the same amount of power as the blow the ape had given me." "It's my improved shield." "Well, I took the concept of oscillation to make that skill. It's too long to explain, and it won't benefit you either." "I can look it up by myself later," she snorted. Both of them smiled. Maybe it was because of this difficult battle, but their relationship somehow got better. "You should rest first, I'll see." "Oh, shit." Before Kai could finish his words, he suddenly noticed that a magical beast was coming toward them at a very high speed. He turned to Ayaka and shouted, "Run!" Roar. But before they managed to do it, the ape suddenly appeared in front of them and threw its right fist toward Kai Oscillation's shield. Kai immediately used his improved shield to block the fist, but he suddenly felt something wrong. Judging from the sound of the ape's muscle, it was contracting crazily on its left hand. He immediately noticed that this fist was a fake, and the real attack was coming from its left hand. He saw its left hand move and immediately raised his shield. Unfortunately, he could only make a single oscillation shield. This second shield was only a normal shield. When the punch crashed onto his normal shield, the shield immediately shattered and the fist struck his abdomen. Gah! He spat blood as the ape blew him away. He crashed into another tree. Sadly, the ape didn't stop there. It immediately shot out that weird light toward Kai. As Kai didn't have a chance to react because of that strike, he was killed by that beam of light, or so she thought. Chapter 18, End Boom. The ape shot out a beam from its mouth, just like the previous ape, to Kai. It looked like the ape hit him. Ayaka couldn't ascertain Kai's condition, as the smoke prevented her from doing so, but judging from their positions, he should have gotten hit by that explosion. Ayaka opened her mouth wide. She thought, "Why is he the one getting hit? I should be the one getting hit. He's always helping me again and again. If I were the one who got hit by the ape, and if he were still alive, he would have had a way to kill this ape." Blood inside her head started boiling again, despite the numerous times Kai told her to calm down. She made a magic circle out of rage. Scarlet explosion. She used that enormous explosion again on the ape. Boom. It was a direct hit to the ape, but because she was too close to the explosion, she got blown away by the shockwave made from it. She crashed into a tree again and spat some blood. She tried to look at the explosion. Did I get him? She couldn't see it, as the smoke was still rising. Roar. Suddenly, a thunderous roar filled the air. The ape blew the smoke away. One of the ape's hands was charred black, while there were also a few black spots on its body. It seemed that the ape sacrificed one of its arms to block the explosion. Ayaka gritted her teeth. She couldn't move her body, and the ape was staring at her angrily. Ding! But before the ape could charge toward her, a high-pitched sound suddenly echoed from Kai's position. Behind the smoke, Kai was using his melody resonance to produce this sound. But this time, he didn't use it to affect their brainwaves, he just wanted to let all of them notice him. Roar, roar, roar. Numerous roars were heard from the forest. Kai smiled as he leaned his back on the tree. His hand was broken when he used it to block the ape's punch, but at the last second, he managed to use his improved shield to block that beam-like attack. The energy scraped away the power from the beam and its explosion. It destroyed his barrier, but didn't do any significant damage to him. But he was so lucky to be alive. Kai struggled to get on his feet when he heard lots of magical beasts starting to head their way. Roar! The ape roared at him. Kai only smiled at the ape and said, "Come!" The ape then ran toward him. He threw a fist on Kai's battered body. Kai gritted his teeth while enduring the pain. Because Ayaka had injured its entire left hand, the ape was forced to throw its right hand to attack Kai, but he used this as a chance to dodge its attack. He jumped toward the ape's left hand. Because the ape couldn't do a 360-degree turn after he attacked Kai's with his right hand, Kai managed to avoid the worst. Kai immediately ran toward Ayaka, but suddenly, the ape roared and chased after him. "Kai, Ayaka, use your fire net." Ayaka's eyes flashed. She knew what he wanted to do. After finding that Kai was alive, she somehow got extra energy in her body. She tried to move her hand and raised it toward the ape. A magic circle appeared again. Fire net. A fire net akin to the previous one suddenly appeared once again between Kai and the ape. It blocked the ape from catching up with Kai. The fire net started burning the ape. Roar! It screamed out of the pain. Kai immediately helped her. He pulled her out so she could stand. She managed to stand up, but she had to lean on a tree so she could continue using her fire net. Kai suddenly put his noise-canceling headphones on Ayaka. Ayaka was confused by his action, but she suddenly realized that she couldn't hear anything. This proved how strong Kai's noise-canceling headphones were. Kai only opened one of her ears. He said, "Do you remember how I told you that I have a skill that will also hurt me when I used it? It's time to use it. If we die just like this, our score will be low. Just lean back on this tree and watch." Kai smiled and put the headphones back. He made a sound insulation room around her and came outside the room. He only smiled at her, but this smile only made Ayaka even more worried. Kai suddenly made a huge green magic circle. He also made 2 small magic circles around his ears. "I really hate doing this." Kai sighed. He looked at the struggling ape that was trying to break Ayaka's fire net. He also heard the sound of monsters that were coming to this place. AN, dB, or decibel is a unit used to measure the intensity of a sound. It was said that occupational exposure to ultrasound in excess of 120 dB may lead to hearing loss. Occupational exposure to ultrasound in excess of 155 dB may produce heating effects that are harmful to the human body, and occupational exposure to ultrasound in excess of 180 dB may lead to death. Let's raise the bar a little bit more. All right, 200 dB is enough to lead even magical beasts to death, Kai said. He had tested something like this with so many cautions, but the most important thing was that he tested it in a practical tube like this. He sometimes used his sister's influence to use a practical tube so he could research his skills like this. This was the last card that he would use when fighting magical beasts. He had died countless times when was researching this skill, just to understand how to make a skill that could produce a very loud sound. The biggest reason why this was his trump card was that he would most likely die if he were to use this. He might be able to use it inside the sound insulation room, but he didn't know why. But when he used it inside the sound insulation room, it would break. Far easier than when he was outside. That was why he left the room and let Ayaka stay safely inside. Kai waited a little bit more so more and more magical beasts would come to this place. In a span of 3 seconds, he could see numerous magical beasts approaching him. If he didn't use his magic at this point, he would die before he could use it. He immediately clapped his hand and activated the magic circle. Ultrasonic Assassin. Ding. A very loud noise suddenly echoed through the entire forest. Roar, roar, roar. The beasts were roaring because of this sound, especially the beasts that were close to Kai. They stopped moving and tried to cover their ears. This sound was killing them. But the one who took the most damage was Kai and the ape. When he activated his magic, his eardrums almost burst. The magic circle on his ears was a small sound insulation room that could protect him for a few seconds. But to kill these monsters, he needed more than those few seconds. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, until finally, at the 5th second, the magic circle on Kai's ears broke. His eardrums immediately burst out, and blood spurted out of his ears. Blood started coming out of his eyes, nose, and mouth. When he spat some blood, he fell to his knees. It could be said that he already had organ failure because of this sound, but he gritted his teeth and maintained the magic. When Ayaka saw this, she didn't know why, but a wrenching pain tore her heart. She wanted to help Kai at this moment, but her body refused to move. Move. Why can't you move at this time? Ayaka couldn't help but let out some tears from her eyes. Kai did this so they could win their bet with Katsuragi Takaki. She was the one who accepted that bet without even consulting him. Move, she screamed, but even so, she couldn't move her body. Kai was struggling as blood started coming out of his pores. He used his hand to support his body and maintained his magic. Even the sound insulation room he made for Ayaka had started cracking. Numerous magical beasts in his surroundings started dying one by one. In the 12 seconds, Kai suddenly spat blood and fell to the ground lifelessly. He died. His magic circle and sound insulation room started to disappear. Ayaka knew that Kai finally died. She gritted her teeth and continued to struggle. She saw that the ape hadn't died yet. She needed to at least give that ape the last blow. The magical beasts that hadn't died yet started to get up. They wanted to ram and kill the dead Kai and Ayaka. After her continuous struggle, she finally managed to raise her hand. She used her skill toward the ape again. She looked at the ape that was bleeding all over its body. Scarlet explosion, boom. The ape took another hit from Ayaka's explosion. Roar. The ape was still roaring, but its roar was beginning to show signs of weakening. Just die already, she shouted desperately. She couldn't use her magic again at this point. Roar, roar, roar. Out of nowhere, she got hit by a rhinoceros from the side, thus killing her. Ayaka and Kai finally came back to reality. They were startled as they looked at each other, but they soon turned their heads to the screen. The screen displayed how many monsters they killed during their stay inside. S0A, 1B, 4C, 36D, 98E, 56F, 237. Kai was speechless. He muttered, "So, after that much effort, we still couldn't kill the ape." Ayaka remembered how she had hit the ape with another explosion. She flushed red, and she said while looking away, "The ape was too tenacious." She then turned to Kai again, and Kai also looked into her eyes. They chuckled. "Ha ha, so it was still no use, huh?" Kai laughed while leaning against the wall of the tube. Chapter 19, Score, haha. So it was still no use, huh? Although he was frustrated by the result, Kai was still laughing. They truly did their best for that. It was only due to their miscalculation that they were ambushed by an A-rank magical beast. Ayaka looked at Kai's laughing face and involuntarily smiled. Kai was indeed the silent type, but it was because he tended to avoid unnecessary conversation. If he had to, he would say everything. At first, she wanted to show Kai her real strength, but he once again defeated her. She didn't understand why. But after they experienced that practice world, losing to him like this didn't feel that bad. When she thought of that, she suddenly remembered the scene where Kai called her with her first name, and so did she. Her face slowly turned to red, and her heartbeat began to race. Kai noticed the sudden change in her heartbeat. He saw her red face and asked, "What happened?" "No," she looked away. Kai tilted his head in confusion. "But your face is red. It's only your imagination. There's no way I'm thinking of how you called me with Ayaka, or how I called you Kai," Ayaka said as her face became redder. I'm sorry I called you that. Since calling you politely would have only made the situation awkward and delayed the command, I called you that way. I apologize. You must be ashamed to have me call you that way." Kai apologized to her with a sincere tone. No, what you just said is right. I think it'd be better for you to call me Ayaka from now on. And I'll call you Kai, Ayaka said, flustered. Kai couldn't understand her, but he agreed to it since it would be more convenient that way. There was no other thought. Ayaka looked at Kai. The government might regret their decision by grading Kai as a D-rank magician. The government only tested their magic power and element for the evaluation and not their potential. She somehow could picture what her grandfather said about Kai being an unorthodox magician. Although it might not be now, it would happen sooner or later. After all, Kai was still growing. "Since we're done with this, let's go out," Ayaka said. Kai nodded his head and put his noise-canceling headphones back. He opened the tube and saw the principal, Shirotsuka Sanai, as well as 2 other people in front of their tube. He and Ayaka were startled. Ayaka aside, Kai didn't even hear them. They had been waiting for them before Kai and Ayaka died in that world, so it was normal for Kai not to hear them, but it was different for those people. They had been waiting for quite a while to check their condition. When they saw that the tube was turned off, they knew Ayaka and Kai had died in that world. They gulped down as they didn't know what kind of reaction they would have. They were scared that Ayaka and Kai would have developed a trauma after this. Principal and teacher. Ayaka furrowed her eyebrows in confusion. Shirotsuka Sanae aside, she didn't understand why all of these people stood in front of their tube. You two are fine, right? The principal asked. What do you mean, principal? Ayaka asked back. She didn't know why the principal would ask this question. That world must have scared you, right? Scared us? Ayaka frowned. She shook her head. The world was really challenging. I learned so much from that world. To say the least, I never thought that the outside world was that dangerous. I need to get stronger and use my magic better to challenge it again. Ayaka only told the truth from her experience. The world sure was dangerous, because when they just teleported, they were already surrounded by magical beasts. If Kai hadn't been there with her, she didn't know how long she would be able to last in that situation. If Kai hadn't been there with her, she would have gone around killing those magical beasts without care, and she would then be surrounded by them and die. She realized that she was too reliant on Kai, so she decided to get stronger. The world didn't scare her. Instead, it encouraged her to get stronger. The principal was startled when he heard that. He looked at the determination in her eyes and finally relaxed. Ayaka seemed to not have been affected by the world. He then looked at Kai Carter. Kai didn't have any expression on his face, and he only found confusion in his eyes. But from the looks of it, he seemed to not have been affected by that world. It was a great relief to know. The principal wiped the sweat on his forehead and said, I see, it's good then. What's this all about, teacher? Kai then turned to Sanae and asked, I'll explain it to you. Since both of you have finished it, we can go to my office so I can tell you about it. The principal replied hurriedly, without giving Shirotsuka Sanae a chance to say anything. Let's go. But before they went to the principal office, Ayaka didn't forget to ask Shirotsuka Sanae for their result. It was very important to them, since they had a bet with Katsuragi Takaki. Teacher, what's our result? Ah, your result. Shirotsuke Sanae was startled. A surprised look, which was very rare to appear on her face, could clearly be seen there. She looked at the principal first. The principal contemplated a bit before nodding his head. Because he was too worried about them, he had forgotten about this. When he looked at the screen that displayed the number of monsters they killed inside, he dropped his jaw to the ground. S0A, 1B, 4C, 36D, 98, E56F, 237. Even the others, including Shirotsuka Sanae, got startled by the result. They even killed an A-rank beast. Normally, the students would get shocked by an A-rank beast that could also use magic. Even students who were A-rank magicians would be shocked by those monsters. Even though they had the same rank, the A-rank students were like a newborn baby in front of a grown adult. That rank only indicated their potential. They needed to experience battling the magical beasts, using magic, and so on to become a full-fledged A-rank magician. Then, they would be able to win even against a few A-rank magical beasts. That was why they got shocked by their result. As a teacher, Shirotsuka Sanae knew their ranks. Ayaka was an A-rank magician, and Kai Carter was only a D-rank magician, so it was very obvious that Kai took advantage of Ayaka. But no matter how strong Ayaka was, she would never be able to kill this many magical beasts, considering the time it took them. How do you kill so many magical beasts so quickly? Shirotsuka Sanae asked. It was Ka, Ayaka wanted to tell her, but Kai suddenly spoke up. I baited the magical beasts, and she killed them all. Since she had powerful magic, I chose to be the bait. You. Ayaka was suddenly shocked by what he said. It was not true in the slightest. Kai was the one who killed those magical beasts, while she could only watch as he did that. Shirotsuka Sanae frowned a bit because she felt something wrong, but she decided not to care about it any longer. She took a deep breath before announcing their result without giving a chance for Ayaka to correct Kai's statement. You two are the first ones to finish this task. You used 1 hour in the process. And you can look at this paper to know how we score you. Shirotsuka Sanae explained in her style. She gave them a paper. F rank, 1 point E rank, 2 points D rank, 4 points C rank, 8 points B rank, 20 points. A rank, 100 points. S rank, 1000 points. Survival 6 hours, 100 points. Your total points are 1409 points. Shirotsuka Sanae announced their score. Sadly, no one other than the two knew that the points they got were from Kai's suicidal skill. Congratulations to both of you. No one has managed to get this many points in their first time except Tasha Carter, who got 1561 points in her first try. But I can proudly say that your group surpassed her. The principal congratulated them. I'll explain what I mean in my office. After that, the principal turned to Shirotsuka Sanae and said, Teacher Shirotsuka, since they finished this class, I'll be borrowing these two students. Sanae only nodded her head. When they left the gym, she then looked toward the screen. A shrewd student. But just one person's ability won't be able to fight all those magical beasts in the outside world, she said with a trace of reminiscence in her voice. She shook her head. After around half an hour, the tubes of the students started opening as they had died. She graded them one by one. There was a special time limit for this class, which was 6 hours. After those 6 hours, the difficulty would become harder, and they would be forced to exhaust their everything and die. And surprisingly, there were a few groups that managed to pass the time limit, including George's group and Katsuragi Takaki's group. When Katsuragi Takaki opened the tube, he immediately searched for Ayaka's group, but found out that the tube had been opened and seemed to have been open for quite a long time. In other words, they didn't manage to stay long enough to get the survival points. He became confident he had beaten them in this, but when he asked Sanae his group score, your total points are 943 teacher, how about Ayaka's group? Takaki asked. We must have gotten a higher score than them. Just look at their tube, they must have come out long before us, that means that they died early. Wada Miyako, Katsuragi Takaki's partner, said, No, they got 409 points. They passed the 1,000 barrier mark, Sanae said casually. Katsuragi Takaki and Wada Miyako dropped their jaws. Chapter 20, Explanation. No, they got 409 points. You two only barely got half of their score, Sanae said casually. Katsuragi Takaki and Wada Miyako dropped their jaws. Teacher, you must be mistaken. There's no way they scored higher than us. Just look at our screen, Katsuragi Takaki said while pointing at his screen. S, 0A, 0B, 1C, 7D, 51E, 103F, 257. I saw it and calculated your score the same. Way, I calculated theirs. You two got 843 points from eliminating the magical beasts, and another 100 points from surviving. Shirotsuka Sanae indifferently explained. There was a hidden meaning behind her explanation. If Ayaka and Kai died, that meant they didn't get that massive surviving points. In other words, they got that score only by killing magical beasts. Katsuragi Takaki gritted his teeth. There's no way they can do that. I need to see how many monsters they killed, he said with a bit of rage in his tone, demanding Shirotsuka Sanae to disclose their information. But what he never expected was that Shirotsuka Sanae would suddenly release her killing intent. Wada Miyako immediately got scared by that intense killing. Intense, and even Katsuragi Takaki got startled by it. I'm sure you too have read the rules. I can disclose their score, but not their information. If you don't believe me, you can ask them yourselves. I don't care if you're a Katsuragi, just remember that you are in my class. As long as you are in my class, you need to follow the school rules strictly, she said with a cold tone. You. Katsuragi Takaki wanted to burst out, but Shirotsuka Sanae ignored him and left to score the others. He gritted his teeth, he remembered. After that 6 hours, magical beasts started appearing one by one. They were forced to fight them continuously and exhausted their energy. After killing as many as they could, they died under the swarm. It was at that moment that they managed to boost their points significantly. But Ayaka and Kai shouldn't have experienced something like that because they died before it could happen. That was the reason why he couldn't believe Ayaka and Kai surpassed his group. It must be her. Ayaka was the one who did all of this. There's no way a D rank like him can do something like that. He just took advantage of her power and got all the glory, he said while gnashing his teeth, and left the gym in rage. Wada Miyako was utterly forgotten by him. After all, Katsuragi Takaki only paired up with her since she was one of the strongest in the class. Ayaka and Kai weren't aware of this at all, as they got dragged by the principal to his office with two other people. On the way, Ayaka asked Kai, "Why did you say it was me? It's obviously your achievement. I just took advantage of your identity." Kai shrugged his shoulder. "What do you mean?" "Nothing. Since you're strong, then let others see you as the strong one. I'm only a D rank and a sound magician to boot. If they heard that I killed all of those monsters, would they believe me? They'll only doubt me," Kai said casually. "But that still can't be a reason to not say it," Ayaka replied. "Well, if I don't stand out, I'll be able to have more time to research my magic. And it's enough for my sister to get all the exposure. If I start getting it too, it will be dangerous for our family. Unlike your huge Kudo group, my family is only a small family. We don't have the strength to protect ourselves. Me and my sister aside, what if they decide to target my parents? That's why I'm taking advantage of your status to avoid that. So I'm going to thank you in advance for all the problems it might bring," Kai explained. "What?" Ayaka was startled when she heard Kai's reasoning. She never thought Kai had thought that much ahead. She was wondering if he was being really careful or just being paranoid. No, it might be because of his carefulness that he could lay low so long without anyone noticing him. Maybe what he told me is right. He's taking advantage on me so he can protect his family, she thought. She also wanted to get stronger to protect her family, and hearing Kai selflessly deny everything that can prove his strength and make people recognize him to achieve that, she felt that they were alike. He must be the same as me. She involuntarily nodded her head. She said righteously, "Since you're going that far to protect your family, I'll let you rely on my status. But you need to pay me back." "Pay you back?" Kai looked at her in confusion. "You need to be my partner in every practice class," she said. Kai looked at her with even more confusion. Kai said, "But this pairing up thing is fixed for a year. It was explained in the rule book when you partner up with someone. You will partner up with him or her until you advance a grade. In other words, for at least a year." "Eh?" She froze. "Did you not read the book?" She suddenly recalled that something like that was explained in the rulebook that she received when she entered the school. She had completely forgotten about that. She looked away with a flushed face. She said with her eyes averted, "I think I read it somewhere." Kai was speechless. He thought she asked him to partner up because she already knew the rule, but it turned out that it was otherwise. He prayed for her recklessness not to rub off on him. "We have arrived at my off." They had arrived at the principal's office, so the principal opened the door and told them to come in. But he couldn't finish his words when he saw Ayaka freeze like a statue, while Kai was still normally following him. He didn't know why Ayaka suddenly became like that. He only coughed and said, "Ahem, let's come into my office so we can talk." Kai looked at Ayaka, who slowly walked toward the room awkwardly. She was too embarrassed. "Please sit," the principal said while pointing at a nearby sofa. Kai and Ayaka sat on one sofa, and the other pair sat on the other one. Finally, the principal sat in front of them. "Ahem, let me introduce you to these two first. These two are a pair that I invited to test a new programmed world that our school designed. They are Adrian Stewart and Nagase Kilika," the principal introduced. "Ah, you mean the famous couple?" That Adrian Stewart and Nagase Kilika. Ayaka was surprised. She was too focused on Kai this entire time that she didn't have time to observe the pair that came with the principal. Because of that, she didn't realize that it was them this whole time. "Nice to meet you," Adrian and Kirika said at the same time. "It's my pleasure to meet such a famous couple," Ayaka said. Kai only nodded his head. "I invite them to the new programmed world that resembles the outside world. The place we set was on the foot of Taal Volcano, Philippines. If you manage to come out of the forest, you'll realize that you're surrounded by a lake. The objective of this world is to set up a huge base around that place and start clearing the area around it with the lake as the bridge that separates your base and the magical beasts. Actually, we're planning to implant this as the graduation exam for the entire grade. We'll send the entire class there with that as the objective. After all, humanity's main goal is to eliminate the magical beasts and repopulate the earth. We want our graduates to become elites amongst elites with this new exam, but because of my mistake, you two experienced that brutal world. What do you mean, brutal world, Principal? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, our country already made a small base there. Ayaka voiced. Just like I said, the place is set on the foot of Taal volcano in the Philippines. We made that world with the actual data, including the monsters around that place. So, the magical beasts you met in that world, and their number is close to the actual place before we made a small base in that place. Ayaka was surprised. Is the world that dangerous? I think you need to ask your grandfather or your parents for that. I can't disclose this one, but because of my carelessness, both of you experienced that dangerous world. Our original plan was for the students to slowly get used to it, starting from an easy place to a dangerous one like that. But you two Hais, for that I truly apologize. The principal stood up and bowed his head. Ayaka and Kai were surprised. They didn't know about the full concept of the education system in this school. They only knew that they needed to kill magical beasts in the practical class, but they never knew about the backstory. Because of this incident, the principal had no choice other than explaining it to them. He said, "And please keep this a secret from other students." Ayaka and Kai understood him. It was indeed not a good thing for them to blabber about something like this. They looked at each other and nodded their heads. Ayaka thought about asking her grandfather about the outside world. Her grandfather often told her stories about his experience in the outside world, but she never expected it was that dangerous. What she got from this was not a trauma. In fact, it motivated her to get stronger and stronger. She clenched her fist. They talked for a little longer before the principal sent them off. The principal wanted to give them a weapon to apologize, but they rejected it. It was normal, since Ayaka was a Kudo's heiress, and Kai already got his weapon from her. Before they left, the principal suddenly said something that confused them. You can ask teacher Shirotsuka Sanae if you have any questions about the outside world. Her personality aside, she is indeed an elite amongst elites.